Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
Another episode of the Chad Smith Podcast. My name is Chad Smith, and today is Thursday, May 5th, 2022, and I'm joined, as always, by my awesome co-host from California. Please welcome Sonny Conway and Spooky Morales.
Good morning, Chad. Good morning, Sonny.
Good morning.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning, everyone in the chat.
Morning, Sonny. You feeling good, man?
No.
Nope,
no.
But I'm committed.
I'm cold.
Your internet looks like it might be a little cold too, man.
Yeah, I don't know what's going
It's a
on.
little choppy.
I'll probably reset here in a second and fix it.
We got Jake Smith in the chat room saying, "Happy birthday, brother! My day
Happy
one
birthday
and my
to
best
you.
friend."
Oh, that's
Love
right.
you, bud.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thanks, Jake Smith. Thanks, Spooky. Thank you, Sonny.
You old bastard.
Hey, what's up, Cassie? Good morning. You're up early. Early for the West Coast. Spooky Morales, thank you so much, man. And we got Weeping Willow Paranormal. How's it going this morning?
Connor. What's up?
Diesel Girl, good morning. Good to see you.
Diesel Girl needs her own song like Alien Girl. Diesel Girl.
Diesel Girl. Starts off with like a diesel engine revving up or something. Good morning, Connor. Good to see you. Peppa
Connor's
H,
show last
you
night with Connor and Eric last night talking about Star Wars was everything.
It was pretty
It was
cool.
everything. Yeah, yesterday was May the 4th be with you day.
Yes, it was.
Oh, yesterday was my holiday. That was my
Dude, I
favorite
got
day
to
of the
tell-
year.
I got to tell Luke from AAP.
Thank you, Sam.
Force be with you. May the
Oh,
Force-
you
yeah,
did?
that was cool.
Oh,
Yes, it was
cool.
Luke, may the 4th be with you.
Yeah,
Bam.
That's
Bam. Yeah, Spooky is using a new mic today, ladies and gentlemen. Spooky's now
Microphone
using
check. 1 2 1 2.
a new Shure SM7B microphone.
Check the mic and make sure it sounds right, boy.
Bam. All right, guys, we also have a guest backstage today, so I want to make sure that we bring him up and not forget about him. Please welcome Mr. Dan Holroyd. Am I saying your last name right?
It's Holroyd. It's kind of like
Holroyd.
Ackroyd, but
Holroyd.
with Hall in front of it. So
I'll remember
Holroyd.
now, man.
Yeah, you
We're
did
big
good
Dan
though. You
Aykroyd
did good.
fans.
It's just been butchered.
Yeah.
I've been called Hell Rod, Hell Road, all sorts of stuff.
Speaking of Dan Aykroyd, he put out a tweet today about the paranormal.
Did he really?
Oh,
Yeah.
man. Was he talking about us?
Yeah, he's excited about the aerial phenomenon movie that's going to be coming out.
Oh, sweet.
He
Yeah.
even put up the date that it's coming out.
Well, we're gonna have to get him. On
I
the
have
show.
followed him and his father and his late father and his brother, or not late brother. I think his
Thanks,
brother
Rob.
passed. Him and his father's brother. I've been following them for quite a few years, paranormal wise, because he's into the whole ghost UFO thing. So
Right.
Dan is an amazing individual when you get him
Right on.
talking.
Yeah, we love him here, man.
Yep.
Dan
That's good to hear.
Aykroyd. Yeah, so maybe. What's up, Ben? Good morning, sir.
That's
So,
I've always told these guys as soon as old Danny Boy finds out I'm a Bears fan too, he'll do the show.
Yeah,
He'll
Oh,
do it
yeah.
for another Bears fan.
Another Bears fan there.
Yep.
he's done some podcasts for some people, which is weird. You have to ask him, how did you get him? He just decides he's in the mood, and he'll do it. You know,
That's
that's how
awesome.
he is.
Mm,
As long
that's
as you don't
good
go
to
through his
know.
agent, that's a whole other story.
I can't get a hold of them anyway. They won't talk to me.
Yeah,
They won't talk to you.
Nope, I've tried.
Yeah, I wonder if he uses his own Twitter account or if he has somebody else do that for him.
I
It's
don't
hard to
know.
get hold of people nowadays because they got agents
I don't-
and
I'm not offering him enough money for him to return
That's
our
what it
calls. the agent's like, "Fuck you, dude."
That's what it
Of
is.
course he'll do your show, but I ain't gonna tell him. You know, that's what the agent said. The
Thank you,
agent gotta
Chris.
make money too.
yeah. Happy birthday, by the way. Wanted
I
to tell you
appreciate that. Appreciate that, man. Yeah, everyone's filing in here. We got 11 in the chat so far. Good morning, everybody. What's up,
It's like,
Eric? How's it
it's
going,
like
man?
Spooky's got his Java going too, huh?
Yeah, doing a little promotion here. I got my Alien Girl cup, Alien Girl 111, y'all. Check it out. Check her out, and you will not be disappointed because she knows. She's always known.
Very nice.
Very cool. Yeah, I'm wearing mine. Gun Barrel Coffee is one of my sponsors. So
Nice.
I got my coffee mug, but no coffee. I'm out of coffee today.
well, I have to send you some Gun Barrel, man.
Yeah, gun
That
barrel
battleship,
coffee.
that battleship stuff will keep you up all night and all day.
Gun barrel coffee. I'm gonna look the website up.
Yeah, they're out of Batavia, Illinois. They're good guys. It's veteran owned, veteran run. I mean, he comes
nice.
from a line of coffee roasters as far back as his grandfather. So he's been doing this a while. So
Okay.
it's a good
Damn
company,
good
man.
Coffee.
Yeah, damn good coffee. Proceeds go to help veteran organizations too. So
It's hard
Out
to
of each
say no
sale.
to that.
and
That's
I will tell
beautiful.
your audience, if you use the code BDOG12, you guys will get a discount on your first purchase.
B Dog 12.
B-Dog 12.
There you go. There's my
Cool, man.
shameless plug there.
Well, yeah, we love coffee here, so yeah, you can never go wrong with some coffee.
I didn't do that till I got into working private and professional, company security work for 17 years and working those overnight shifts at places, man.
Mm-hmm.
I had to give in. I started drinking coffee, and the rest is terrible history. I'm a coffee drinker for sure, all day,
Yeah.
all day.
So
Yeah,
you did private security for private companies?
private companies in Atlanta. That's where I started, in Atlanta, Georgia. I was actually on duty the night the bomb went off at a separate location about 10 miles outside of Atlanta. And yeah, that's a whole nother story. But
Yeah,
I was there 39 hours that night. Let me put it to you that way.
Jeez,
Nuts.
where's the bomb that went off?
It was downtown Atlanta. It's that whole Richard Jewell thing during the Olympics. So I was stationed with a company up near Marietta, just outside Atlanta, and yeah, they had me going through elevator shafts and parts of the building, wanting me to point out things that were, looked a little suspicious. And here I was, I'm a turnkey. I go in and check, make sure nobody's in the office. I don't know what looks out of place. So
Yeah.
it was fun. It was a
Wow.
fun adventure.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, I've been working midnights now for, I want to say, like 12 years or so, 12, 13 years. So coffee is like it's a requirement.
Yeah, and coast
Energy-
to coast, man. Coast to coast AM. That's where I fell in love with it, working those overnight shifts. Doing
Yep.
kind of,
Coast, dude.
Oh, yeah, me
Coast to
too.
Coast is awesome.
I was on there with Art and transferred over to George and all sorts
What's
of
the
crazy.
girl's name that took over? I can never remember her name, and I used to love that lady, dude. I listened to her every night when she took over for Art.
Oh, my God. I can't either. She ended up doing Midnight in the
lady.
Desert.
Yep, long
Yep.
dark hair.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm lucky to have the talent person for both Art and her, Michelle Freed, and Michelle sends me a lot of guests.
Oh, that's
she
cool.
works for a lot of these people, and if they're on my show, I end up hearing them a week after on Coast to Coast AM. So it's kind of cool. It's been a lot of fun.
Thank you, Anthony. Yeah, everyone's I gotta make sure. I feel bad if I don't say thank you to the people in the chat room. So thank you everybody for saying happy birthday. Appreciate
Yeah,
that.
you
guys.
only turn 21 once, man. It's a thing, right?
God, I wish it was my 21st birthday again.
I've done that twice, so don't feel bad. It's all good.
So when did you
having birthdays for 10 years so Chad could catch up?
Yeah, right. Right.
Yep. So when did you move from? You said you lived down in Georgia.
I lived in a couple of different states, but Arizona, and then I also lived in Georgia. We moved back to Michigan in '98,
Okay.
and it was quite the culture shock again. Even though I'm from here,
Mm-hmm.
and I ended up going right into security work. Stayed with what I knew best, and it was adventures ensued. Man, I worked for a couple of different companies, and it's you think doing a ride along with the police department, which I'd done in Georgia, would have exposed me to a lot of crazy things. That's tip of the iceberg, because even in security, depending on where you're working, whether it be university or corporate, you see crazy stuff.
Yeah.
I couldn't make up half of it, and my wife has been pushing me to write a book about what your kids really do when they go to school, and then another one about what the real world of security work is like.
Huh.
Because I wasn't always the guy sitting at the front door eating donuts. I worked at, armed and unarmed sites and different things all over the place, but I'm happy to be
Wow.
retired. I'm going to tell you that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of stressful nights and stuff, especially the long. You said over 30 hours on one shift.
Oh,
Have you
yeah.
have you ever seen anything interesting at night, like in the skies when you're working? I know when I work nights, especially security, I had to be outside all the time.
That is really weird that you asked that. You must be reading my mind or something.
Something,
when
yeah.
I worked for a company here, a short while, just under a year, I worked with this guy doing retail. It's called retailer security, but we ended up checking all sorts of spots at night, on my shift. So all night, 3 times a night, I would drive to all these different locations, check the doors, go through the buildings, that kind of thing. Turnkey, just making sure nobody's broke in if I spot anything. So there was a location here west of town, and my supervisor, my sergeant, and I both spotted this object. And I'd have to say this is right around probably 2000. It's just before I went to work for a pharmaceutical company here in town for security. And we saw this thing just sitting still in the sky, big silver object. A lot of people tell people that it's in the shape of a cigar. I won't say that. It was oblong like a hot dog is what I would say.
Mm-hmm.
And you could see the sun reflecting off it, and it did not move. It wasn't a dirigible. I got my binoculars out. I could see it clear as a bell. It didn't appear to have any windows. As we watched this for about a good 45, 50 minutes, we tuned into local AM radio because people were calling it in. Like, what is that? West of Kalamazoo, what the hell's going on? And this isn't the first time that I had spotted stuff. So, and just like somebody had taken a shade, they basically, it started to disappear from right to left, and as if somebody took a line and went along that route, and it was gone. It was absolutely gone. So we couldn't figure it out. We listened to all the calls on the local radio, and then it was kind of forgotten. The MUFON here in Michigan has it, under their report. And then I was involved in another one too at the over the local airport here in Kalamazoo, and a lot of people called it in, and that's also up there. Plus, a person in my group has caught something on film, which also MUFON has, and they've designated it unknown. And that's over Hartford, Michigan. And it was an object on a full moon night that it just came from the moon. It looked like it comes from the moon because it comes out of nowhere, and it goes down over some trees and disappears into a tree line. And we turned that in, but I'm glad you asked. Thanks.
Yeah, so there seems to be a lot of Michigan activity.
Well, we got Lake Michigan over here, and that is known for, Chicago side too. People seeing stuff out over the lake all the time too, and it's not airplanes. It's just weird stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Weird stuff.
It's crazy how many sightings are happening by water.
Mm-hmm.
Like even like a small body, like a small pond or something. For some reason attracts these.
Yeah, Hillsdale was over a swamp. That's a very famous one, which is down the road from me. I think the thing unique to this side was a lot of it happened near the nuclear plant we have just down the road from South Haven. And so we think it has a lot to do with that, because one of the most famous incidents they played on Coast to Coast was with the triangular craft that the weatherman first spotted. And this thing was going all over the place in a matter of seconds, 15,000 feet to 2,000 feet. And then it was 10 miles up the road. Then it's 10 miles back. And it was just police were chasing it all over the place. 3 constabularies were chasing it. And, the weather guy was mysteriously transferred to another location. Imagine that.
Oh,
The weirdest one I heard on there was probably the Phoenix Lights on Coast to Coast back in the day.
Yep. And
that was so like surreal to me. Like I didn't even really believe it at first. I thought it was like a joke that Art Bell was having people call in and say they were seeing these lights over Phoenix.
Right.
That's almost what it seemed like to me. Like that can't be real. That can't really be going on right now in Phoenix. It's one of those.
I remember Art was with Richard C. Hoagland. They were talking about it was amazing, man. They were talking about it. I think it was on CNN. They were talking about how it was on CNN.
Yeah. Well, the minute the Air Force starts making up all sorts of stories and wants to deny it, now they don't. Now all of a sudden it's all real and there's a threat out there. I mean, you got to listen to the wording, but Yeah,
Mhm.
he's right. That was a very interesting case. And as I said, that craft that people thought that they saw, triangular, in the way that it was, with some witnesses, was very similar to what we had here in Michigan. And there's been more. There's been more of those all over the country. So I follow those as anytime they come up in a report, I'm reading up and kind of checking it out because I'm into everything in paranormal. I'm first and foremost, I think because of what I've done over the years, been chasing ghosts and spirits,
Mhm.
but one of the bigger things I'm into is Bigfoot. And I told my mom at a very young age, after I saw In Search Of back in the 70s, so I'm dating myself. Uh, this is when the show was still being done on a weekly basis,
Mhm.
that I was going to become a cryptozoologist and I was going to go discover Bigfoot, Sasquatch. And I've yet to discover or search him out. I've had 2 sightings, but that's here and there.
Oh, you have had 2 sightings?
I say that with almost a little bit of tongue in cheek,
Mhm.
because I'm not quite sure what I saw.
Right.
But to see something that's massive, and I'm 6'2", 285 pounds. So anything that stands about 8 foot in a distance, and I see it at the edge of a tree rim on a cornfield, and this thing is swaying back and forth. And who's going to be out in July in a big giant black winter coat?
Yeah, that's
Or
not
how would
happening.
they stand out there in a gorilla
No
suit and just
way.
hope somebody from the road sees them? It was
Yeah.
ridiculous. So I actually did a double take, and then I slowed down and realized I had gone over the yellow line. Thank God there wasn't other traffic coming down this road, but
Right.
it's on Silver Lake Road here, just north of Vicksburg, and it's the same location, which is strange, which is in a book called Weird Michigan. And my buddy Bob Penny, who I work with, had a sighting there that's in that book many years before this happened. And I told Bob that, hey, dude, I saw something out there too. Really strange in that area. So Kalamazoo County and St. Joe and Van Buren counties down here have had a slew of people reporting, strange stuff like that. So it was, it's too good to be true. It was one of those things.
If you've been into Bigfoot, like since you were a kid, when you were a kid, what did you think that was? Like, as far as a hunter, for me, it's not that I don't believe in Bigfoot. I've never seen one, but here recently I seen a video a couple years ago, that's around our hunting area. For me, I always thought, okay, yeah, there is a Bigfoot out there, but it was just an animal to me. It was just going to be some animal that walked on 2 legs that none of us have ran across yet.
Yeah.
It was hard for me to fathom that there was a beast out there that could just rip me in half whenever he felt like it.
No,
So
I appreciate your point of
I
view.
think it's a mammal we haven't discovered.
Yeah, I appreciate your point of view, because I think everybody, even me being a believer in the ghost realm, I'm still skeptical. I think you should hold on to your very, positive idea of being skeptical till you see something yourself. Then you've got to rate it, and then you've got to try to process it. And like you said, you saw something, you had to process it, and here's what
I
you
will
think.
say, I've never had that feeling that there wasn't one out there, though. So I do believe in it somewhat. Like, I know it's there. I'm just not for sure if it's what we all think it is.
Well, to
It
answer your
might be.
question, as a child, we're all easily impressed, So I think seeing that at a young age, I was like, man, there's something out there. As I got older and I really followed everybody that was out there, the BFRO I'm just going to say this, I'm sure I'll get hate mail, I thought was a very good thing when it initially started. Unfortunately, there's been some people who are involved now that have almost turned it into a joke, just due to some activities that they do. I'll just put it that way. We have a BFRO here in Michigan. I'm going to have Rich Meyer on pretty soon. I'm going to talk to him today. But, after seeing all the evidence and having Jeff Meldrum on my show and talking to Jeff very openly, who I believe, with many scientists and zoologists who think there's something going on, he's able to spot a lot of the footprints as being fake, and he's able to spot those that are real. And having the hair samples that closely match human, but they're still unidentified, many other things that go along with what I'm trying to put into a capsule here, would lead me to believe that they're intelligent creatures, because they're smart enough to stay away from us. Because we are, as mankind, I don't want to be the doom and gloom guy, but we're, I think positively about human beings. At the same time, I know we're the worst that we could be, at times. So they're smart enough to stay away from us. I think most encounters that happen, probably like yours, it's always accidental. I think that they're very acute to living in the woods the way that they do. They obviously think and they obviously breed, but that's just me as the believer side. Now, the skeptical side, it's hard to take anything that goes out on the internet and YouTube now as being 100% because there's so many people faking things, and even in the ghost realm, they do the same stuff.
Just trying to get likes.
Yeah, I'm constantly screaming at the YouTube and even some of the TV shows, but I'm still a firm believer. I've talked to other hunters too, much like yourself there, Sonny, who hunt here. My uncles had an incident on the Indiana-Michigan border back when they were teenagers, and we're talking teenagers in the 50s and 60s. That they just said they heard screaming and a lot of noises they're not used to, and these guys still hunt today. So, and there's so much to put into the believability of Bigfoot and the unbelievable aspect too, because people want to know about the whole bones thing, the dead body, finding a dead body, all this kind of stuff.
Right.
I'm not so much on the mystical side of it. I've had a guest on who excuse me, thinks that there may be some connection there. There's always UFOs and different lights that are attributed to some sightings. Everybody wants to throw everything at it. I simply believe myself, and I say this earnestly, that there's a species of unknown humanoid that obviously is intelligent, knows to stay away from this. I mean, is running up the side of a mountain that would take you and I 2 and 3 hours to climb up to the spot where you see some of these people see these things, and to watch them run at amazing speed and paces. And every state, every country has a version. Every country in the world has a version of this. And this has been recorded in time and past by cultures who we didn't have the internet. We didn't have TV. There was no way for them to communicate from Asia to North America that we are seeing this hairy beast thing run around, and it's been around forever. I mean, it's just another one of the many mysteries in the paranormal that I love, I guess, is my round the block answer.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because Sonny actually has a video of a black object moving up a mountain, like scaling this mountain, and it doesn't look like
a cliff. It ain't a mountain.
It's a cliff.
That's a cliff. Yeah, that's just straight up and down cliff, Chad. That's not like.
Oh, okay.
It
yeah,
really
for some reason
it really does look like what you're seeing on there. It really looks like it's straight up and down when you're, and it's like a mile high. And we got a video watching this thing go from the bottom to the top. And in the video where I zoom in, where you talk about it swaying back and forth, that reminds me of the way it's climbing that mountain. It's just swaying and then reaching with its arms, and you can see it going like hand over hand up this mountain. It's freaky.
Oh,
man.
Sonny, I have it right here actually. I think.
See if you can play it. See if that one will play.
This is the right one.
I'm not real sure what this is, but whatever it is, it's right between these two trees, climbing. It's a black spot. It's black, but it's got white feet, and it's in a hurry, and it's huge.
Oh, you're muted, Sonny.
We have different videos and pictures where he started recording that at the bottom of that cliff all the way to the top. And when it gets to the top, you can start seeing its size comparison, even though it's a little black spot. When it gets to the top of that hill, you can compare that to the pine trees that are at the top of that cliff. Both the spots and the trees are this big. And even though that's at the top of a mountain, those trees won't grow as big as the ones that do down in the soil. And those trees are still 13 to 15 feet tall, though. They're pine trees. They're still tall trees. They just
I'm sure you heard. Yeah, I'm sure you heard from the skeptics and the haters, like, well, that could be one of those guys that is free form climbing and that kind of nonsense. Yeah, I mean,
climbing that cliff without gear, that's a dangerous one. Yeah,
yeah, I used to do that without gear, and I will tell you how stupid that is. It's very stupid. We had an incident where we thought in Tucson on the Rincon Mountains back when I lived there, me and my buddy, that I thought we were going to have to try to wave somebody down on the trail, which looked like ants. That's how far up we were. Because he took us around a ridge and there didn't seem to be a way down. And the way we got down is we jumped over 6 foot, about 6.5 foot. There's no way to get back up. So, yeah.
Jeez.
I learned from that. Well, on that same climb, as Sonny can attribute, I started smelling something that was like a wet horse. And I turned over my shoulder, and standing up on a rock watching us was a big old ram. And he's traversing it like it's nothing, you know, and we're stuck up there. And I told my buddy, you're never leading to climb again. You know, there's more to the story, but crazy.
That's crazy how they can do
That
that.
ram was probably thinking these guys are going to kill themselves.
yeah, that was about it. We found a way down, and when we swung around this ledge, my buddy forgot to tell me there was a tree hanging out, and you know, you're putting your life in at a tree that's growing out the side of a mountain, and it held me. And when I was a lot thinner then, and I swung around, he didn't tell me about the protruding boulder on the other side of it, and I cracked my head. And cut my head slightly, and I remember letting go of that tree for about a millisecond, you know, because I realized I fall, I'm dead. There's no ouch, I hurt my arm. It's death. And I told him he was never leading to climb again. But we ended up getting down. That was an all day affair, man. And that was the last time we freeformed, you know, because he was getting into cactus. There's floating cactus out there. You even rub up against it. You guys out in California know. You bump that stuff, and in the minute it's got those barbs with the hooks, it's in you. And there's a big piece of cactus stuck in your arm. And adventures ensued. I will tell you that. And good thing that I had a little first aid training under my belt. But
that sounds like that Chris Farley scene where he's like falling down the hill and he's holding on to that little tree and he's like, "Stay strong, little roots.
Stay strong, little roots." That was it. And when we got down, I took a friend out there another time, but we didn't do that severe. We just went up about halfway, and he decided he wanted to jump in one of these tidal pools because there's a creek that runs through this forest, because we're all under U.S. forestry land, and they allow you to climb and stuff, but they don't want you damaging cactus. That's against the law because it takes 175, 100 years for them to grow. Yeah. So he finds this tidal pool, and he jumps in ahead of me, and I had turned my back because some people said hi on the trail. And it's 113, dude, in the sun. We're out there in summer like nitwits. Got plenty of water, so we're good. And I like, well, how deep is it? And he goes, "Come on in. It's not deep at all." So I undo my belt, take some of my stuff off. I jump in, and I go in over my head, dude. It's about 8 foot deep.
Famous last
and
words.
My glasses came off, and I came up out of that, and that water was from Mount Lemmon. It's ice cold, and I mean super cold.
Oh, I bet.
So I wish somebody had been filming that. That was a Chris Farley moment for sure. And I told Dave, thanks a lot. So we had to go dive back in and go to the bottom to get my glasses. But
it's not that deep.
It's not that deep. It's all good. It's all good. And then we walked all the way back to my motorcycle, and again, rest is history. So always an adventure with Dan.
To drink. I gotta get something to drink. I'll be right back. All right,
no problem, man. We'll be here. We should be here.
Is that a Mariners hat you're wearing? Is that what you're wearing on your head there?
This hat right here is representing. Today we're celebrating not only Chad Smith's birthday, but also Cinco de Mayo. It's a Mexican American celebration.
Right. That's right.
So this is the country of Mexico right here.
Mexico, that's what it is. I apologize.
Feliz Cinco de Mayo, everybody.
Cinco de Mayo, yeah, hell yeah.
I was wondering that too, Dan, but I just didn't want to ask.
I didn't either, but I figured I'll embarrass myself. I'll ask.
No.
Because everybody, with woke society and cancelism that's going on, everybody's reinventing their baseball teams and different names, and I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, I don't know what's happening.
Tonight we will be having sweet jalapeno margaritas here at the Morales house.
Whoa!
Oh man, if I had a jet plane, I'd be to your house tonight.
Little guacamole and chips.
That's
little
assuming
homemade
you invited
salsa.
me.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, you guys are all invited. Come on over.
Yeah, speaking my favorite language, Mexican food, I could live on it. That and Chinese. My wife thinks I'm nuts, but those are two of the faves.
Yeah,
two of the faves. And I didn't used to like hot stuff, Spooky. I didn't used to like a lot of hot sauce and but when we lived in Tucson, I went down to Dallas and ate quite a few times at the mom and pop restaurants, and I had real chili, not this American version, and I had real hot sauce on some of my stuff, and I required the taste over a certain amount of time.
Yep.
So
you do.
now I'm nuts. I put it on eggs and everything. So
nice,
crazy.
Oh yeah, the guy I listened to on the radio over here for Detroit radio, he lives with an Indian woman. He married an Indian lady, and she every time she cooks, I guess just everything is on fire basically. So
is she like Indian or Native American Indian?
Yeah, Indian.
Yeah, so a lot of curries and hot spicy stuff. Yeah.
Yep.
That's my wife.
Spicy.
That's my wife. Yeah, she's like, you guys got to go to Shawarma King, and You got to go eat there. And I'm like, well, I can do the wraps. I cannot. Some of that curry is a bit over the top for me. Like wasabi, my wife will eat that like it's peanut butter, man.
Oh, wow.
You take a tip and it's like your brain is on fire. That's how hot that stuff can be.
We just got back from a North Carolina trip. We went down there, me, Big Willie, and my cousin Jake, and I ordered a burger, and Big Willie kept ordering. Every time he got a burger, he was ordering it with fresh jalapenos, and I'm like, oh, that shouldn't be that hot. I mean, jalapenos are pretty low on the scale. So I did the same thing on one of the burgers, and it lit me up. I'm like, holy crap, fresh jalapenos are no joke. It was hot.
It's acquired taste, yeah, because, if you're not used to it, like you said you were, you can't even taste the burger. It just ruins the flavor of everything. But I'm a guy that has to have that on some things, and I like that on burgers. A little bit of spice. Too. Yeah, yeah. I used to work with these Mexican guys down in Tucson, and they would sit there and eat them raw, like they're, and I would sit back there like with my Kool-Aid and my chicken noodle soup and my peanut butter sandwich going, man, what are you guys eating? Yeah. You want some? And I ended up trying it. Yeah. And it was over the top. Yeah. It's the seeds and the stuff and the oil that gets you.
When we make the salsa, since it's Cinco de Mayo, I'll give everybody a little tip here. When we make the salsa at home, we use the Vitamix blender. But before we do that, we put all the veggies on the grill and we fire roast everything on the grill. That's the way you bring out the flavor. After they're fire roasted, all your veggies, you pop those in the Vitamix and you get the right consistency that you're looking for.
It does sound really good.
He's homeschooling it, folks. Listen to him. He's the man. Because when we finally did, go down to parts of Mexico, we would get stuff like that on. They'd cook on a stone, which kind of threw me off. They'd have this little sterno thing going, and they'd have an actual flat stone there. And they did that same thing. They'd roast everything and cook everything, and it's delicious. Street food is amazing. People are afraid of it down there. Get over yourself. Just don't drink the water. Just don't drink the water. Get bottled water or something. But I didn't have that issue, so it's all good.
I don't know why I have this in my mind, but when I cook on a rock like that, when I'm camping, because we cook fish and everything like that.
And steaks,
we'll put foil over the rock, and I always think the rock's going to explode. I always think I've got the rock so hot that it's gonna pop, and
that happens, right?
It does happen.
It's supposedly it happens, but I've never seen it happen.
I've had it happen once. We took a flat stone, and we won't put the foil down. I'm one of those weirdos, but we cooked a couple of 12-ounce steaks on this big flat rock and split it right in half with the heat, and end up getting a better rock. But it does happen. It scares the hell out of you because it sounds like a shotgun going off.
Oh, I bet.
And we were out shooting guns that day, so I should know.
It's got to be like a porous rock or something that has water in it somehow. And then the water just starts boiling on the inside, and pressure just explodes that thing.
Have you had that happen, Sonny? Like, I build fire pits, and I'll use stone. Sometimes I'll use cut logs because I'll make a big circle. But I stopped using stones as much because we've had that happen here at the house where some of the rocks got too hot from the fire, and they'd go off, and people thought people in the neighborhood were shooting one another.
I haven't even had them explode in my fire yet. I just know they can do it, and I've never had it happen though. Luckily.
So how did you get into paranormal, man? Have you been into paranormal your whole life, or was it after you moved back?
I've had experiences since I was small. So I openly now tell people I'm sensitive, and a lot of people claim this, and I have a whole show about that too. I had to work my way through many people saying they're psychic or sensitive or whatever the case may be. Yeah. And I would put them to the test. And unfortunately I became friends with some people, and they, it wasn't so much the truth. With me, I can tell everybody it happens when it decides it wants to happen, which I'm comfortable with. But I remember as a small child, and I'm talking 4 and 5, we'd be at my grandmother's house, and my dad would have me on the weekends because my parents got divorced when I was 2. So my dad would have me out for visitation on weekends, and we'd go to my grandmother's house. And I remember this one incident very specifically. There was a lady sitting on the couch next to my father. Now, she wasn't close enough to touch him, and nobody interacted with her whatsoever. I remember that very young. My mom has since passed away, but I used to share that story with my mother. And she was amazed that I would remember a lot of things. I'd bring up stuff when I was young with my mom, and I remember stuff very clearly. So this lady would smile at me, and she'd do stuff with her hands like, oh, you know, like the pinchy thing, and point at me, and I'd see her mouth moving, but I would not hear anything. And nobody was interacting with her. Later, we went out to the kitchen to eat, and I remember asking my dad, where'd that lady go? And my father was like, there's no lady here. What are you talking about? And he kind of blew me off, and I told my mother about this when I went home that Sunday. And she said, well, what did she look like? And my mom broke out all these, one of those things off TV, broke out all these photos. I pointed this lady out, and I said she was wearing that top and that skirt. And she had horn rimmed glasses, and she had like a diamond or a silver chain thing on them. And my mother said, that can't be. That there's no way, because that's your Aunt Grace, and she has been dead. She was dead. She died before you were born.
Whoa.
I said, well, that's the lady. She was on the couch, and she was pointing at me, and you know, and so things ensued. When I was younger, my mom always wanted to push it away and play it off. And what makes sense later on to this story is that about 6 years ago, I was in the hospital virtually dying. I got a rear peritoneum bleed behind my stomach. A blood vessel burst, and I was bleeding to death. And
wow.
The short of the story was I was in there 9 days, and it healed itself, which I think is really strange. But during that time, my mom came in. I had called in, you know, the priest, and I'm thinking, hey man, it's time to go. You know, I'm comfortable. I'm happy. I've lived a full life, and that's how serious it got. So my mom comes in and says, look, I know you've been into all this stuff, and I guess I need to tell you this, you know, all this paranormal stuff you've been about and this sensitivity you've been sharing with me. And I've been telling you to, you know, it's just a coincidence. Let me tell you about your great grandfather. And so what ensued was my mother telling me my great grandfather, Claire Gannett, was a seer and a healer. And so was my aunt, my great great grandmother, who's my great great aunt. My great great grandmother.
Like Viking seer, you mean? Like a seer like that?
No, she was Native American, 100% Ojibwe Indian. And so she met my uncle because he was a trick rider and a horse handler in the Buffalo Bill Wild West show. How kooky is that?
Whoa.
So she was hired from the Turtle Clan in Sault Ste. Marie in Canada area to go be part of this with her family, to be one of the performers. And they fell in love, and they came to Grand Rapids. I'm going through a lot of stuff, but regardless of race difference, they didn't give a crap. They became spiritualists and very well known in GR in their time in the 20s and 30s, and then moved to Kalamazoo. Now, telling me this would have been nice early on, because I looked at my mom and I'm like, thanks for the bone. Thanks for the information as I'm laying here bleeding to death. This explains a lot of things going on with me that have gone on, and it got more pronounced when I was in my 30s and 40s. So I was hearing things, and I wouldn't see so much solid people like you guys, but I would see shadow people, shadow movement. When I went to work at a movie theater, Man Theaters in Tucson, to pay my way through college when I lived in Tucson, Arizona, we had stuff going on in the theater. That's where I got one of my first EVPs right around 87, 88, somewhere in there. And we did so, by the way, by using a boombox, folks. So those of you listening and watching, this was this big device that had 2 tape recorders in it, and it had a condensed microphone on it. And you could buy blank tapes, 60-minute tapes, and you could put it on record and leave. You know, that's what we did. So many years later, you know, that's when I found out that I must have this thing from my grandfather. And I'm the only male to have this since him, from my mother's explanation. I noticed that my mom used to always have premonitions and tell us things, and things would happen. Yeah. So I knew something was up. I just didn't know what all the facts were. So now my oldest daughter, Samantha, she's got the gift. She used to tell us things at 3 and 4 that made my wife cry, and we would just freak out. She has no memory of it, but she has the gift. My youngest daughter, Elise, also has something going on where she sees things and hears things. My 2 sons, not so much. Paul's just starting to hear stuff, and he came to me recently and said, Dad, what am I supposed to do? And I'm like, I don't know what to tell you, because Dad goes through this too. I don't think you're crazy. I think you just need to find a way to deal with it. And that's what I had to do. I had to find a way to block some things out. So going on with me in my teen years. I didn't share it too much with friends because Dan has quite an imagination. I admit that. And I'd say a lot of crazy stuff, and I didn't want to be ridiculed because in the 70s and stuff, it was kind of cool, but it's not something everybody was into. And when I got into my 30s, my mid to late 20s, early 30s, working in that movie theater, that's when things really started to ramp up again. And when I moved back to Michigan years later, this is when I finally saw somebody solid like I see all of you. And I went to work for a pharmaceutical corporation, which is quite big in the world. Was up, John. It was Pharmacia at the time, and now it's Pfizer. I worked for them for about 9 years. And working in one of the old high-rise that used to be W.E. Upjohn's original office and factory, I saw somebody. And being the guy that I am, I'm not afraid of much. I fear more that's out here in the daylight than I do anything in the dark. But this was mid-afternoon I saw this person. And my mind was not on ghosts. I've been told that the 4th and 5th floor was haunted. And I went up there and said, I'll be the judge of that. That was my famous last words to everybody. And I went up there and I felt like something was there. I could feel it. But my mind really was on, I don't want to go to 4th of July tomorrow on my weekend off to spend with my mom, because my mom will be in the nice, comfy RV with air conditioning, and we'll be out in the tent. And my wife's pregnant, and we'll be sweating our nutsacks off. So it was one of them things.
What was the feeling like? You said that you felt like somebody was there. Was it like somebody was looking at you?
Yeah, and they were following me too. I always felt, like we get that sixth sense, some of us, when somebody's behind us, you can kind of feel them,
Yep.
And I would turn around and nobody be there. No, I'm not a scaredy cat. As I said, I would face anything. That's how dumb I am. So I didn't see anything. I went into my first stop, which we're checking machine rooms to make sure nothing's on fire, because they're gonna take the building down in about a year. So they were moving stuff out and tearing things apart. So anything that has to do with paranormal, of reconstructing things in a house or a building, it ramps up paranormal activity. I can tell you, I've learned that since I really delved into this. So I think this is the same thing. And I heard a laugh when I came out of the room. I turned to my left, and 2 doors are missing. And this is a instrument room. I remember reading the panel for a second, and both the doors had been removed, and it went to the other hallway. Now, this is a square building, and it had 2 long hallways on each floor. And then there'd be offices on the perimeter. That's how they designed this building. And once in a while in the middle, they'd have like a cooler unit, which made sense and to the story. And some other stuff. So I ended up looking, and I looked down towards the floor, and there's this girl looking at me. And she had like a bowl cut, almost like a bob cut. Her eyes are real dilated. And basically she had her hands on the door jamb, and she would have had to have been horizontal to the floor. The way that she was looking at me and the way she was hanging onto the door jamb. Now, this is all happening in a matter of seconds. I tell people I've been involved in a shooting too. That's a whole nother story. It seems like things are going on for 5-10 minutes, and it's a matter of 1 or 2 seconds. And time kind of slowed down. I looked at her, and she looked at me, and the look on her face was kind of like, who are you and what are you doing? And I remember bending down to look a little closer, and I'm less than 6 feet from her, dude. I mean, I can see every detail. I still see her. And she started to let go of the door jamb, but she didn't do, opening her fingers. She started with her pinkies. It was real creepy. And then her pinkies went, and then her head went, and the hair didn't move. And I heard a rush of air. Now, I'm a big guy, but I can still move. I can motate. So I'm through that door. I'm through the other hallway. Nobody would have gotten away from me. It's about 150 yards each direction, easily. I would have heard somebody running, and there's nowhere for them to go. I get through there, and there's nobody. There's nobody up there.
Whoa.
And so I turned the corner, and I stood up, and I remember saying to myself, what the, F was that?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, was it the guys in a mask? But there's no way they could hide anywhere. There's nobody up there. So as I start walking down, and I'm really trying to process this, I'm talking to myself like, come on, Dan, if you're going to be into this stuff, you gotta face it. You gotta be brave. It didn't hurt you. It was just wondering what you were doing. And as I get into that doorway, which is at the end of the hall, it's another machine room, and I got to go in there, and I got to check, make sure everything's still operating, air's still going. I start hearing this banging, in the hallway, and these are hermetically sealed rooms.
Yeah.
There's 2 doors to go through, and then there's, plate glass, and everything's hermetically sealed. I mean, when you pull on the door, there's suction.
Oh wow.
And so,
Pressurized.
so I hear this banging because all the lower sections, this building was put up in the 1920s. It's all metal, and I hear, and I won't look. I remember turning and shutting the door, and mind you, I'm wearing a radio. I can call down to headquarters and talk to my sergeant and tell him to get his butt up here because I'm experiencing some weird stuff, and I don't do any of that. And then I remember leaning down on my knees because I had to take a breath. I realized I was hyperventilating a little bit. Like I was really excited this is happening. But then I thought, why did you close the door, dummy? If it's a ghost, it's going to come through the door. What are you doing?
Right.
So I open the door. I don't even check the machinery. I don't care. The place is on fire at this point. I open the door. I look in the hallway and there's nobody. Okay. So I start back. I take a shortcut, which goes by this cooler unit. And normally it's open about a crack where I can see that. And in there, I used to notice that they had these shelving units, which are about the size of a human being. That's important to the story. So I get past that. I notice the doors open more than usual. I look in with my flashlight, and my flashlight for a second won't go into the darkness, which is really odd. And I kind of turn it on and off, and I open the door wider. I look in for a second. There's nothing but shelves, empty shelves. I put the door back, and I start hearing that banging again. Now I'm around the corner, and I'm not running, but I'm moving pretty good. And I got to the elevator because we used to lock those open while we did our tours of each floor. And I wouldn't turn around. I reached back and pulled the release button so that the doors would close and I would go down, all the way down to the lobby. I pushed the lobby button as I'm turning around because I didn't want to turn around and have somebody standing there.
Right.
I'm into this, but I will tell everybody that I still get startled, but don't be standing 2 inches from my face or anything like that because that's not a good scene.
Right. Jump scares.
Fist of Fury come out. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. There's no Fist of Fury, but it took me down. Okay, it took me down to 3, up to 5, down to 4, back up to 13, which is the elevator machine room, and then down to the first floor. It was like the elevator ride from hell, dude. That elevator is not controlled by anybody at our control center. They work on their own. I don't know what was happening. I got out and my sergeant had come around the corner because he was doing the first floor. And Charles looked at me and goes, "Danny, man, what's the matter?" And he said I had this look on my face, which I guess I don't recall, but he said, "You look like you saw something." And I said, "Well, you guys playing with me up there on 4?" And he's like, "No, what's the matter?" And I said, "Your little friend came and paid me a visit, dude, up on the 4th floor."
Yeah.
And I will tell you, for about a year, 4th and 5th floor, we had all sorts of crazy things going on because they were tearing the building down. And he saw it. I used to take managers up there. We'd stand around for a minute. We'd hear old music. You'd make mention of it, and the music would stop. You'd hear people talking, and again, you'd say out loud, "I hear you. Is there something you want to say?" And it would cease immediately. I refused to go up by myself, not because I was afraid. I wanted people to see and hear and witness things that I was experiencing up there. And I became the talk, obviously, of the security unit on that shift. But a lot of retirees who were getting ready to quit had said for years that those 2 floors were haunted. They would see all sorts of stuff on all the property downtown. And so, we went about 2 more years with having stuff go on up there. I wish I could have gotten my hand on the recording because we recorded one of the bathroom lights, which we would see come on, but there was no way because the ballasts were disconnected from power.
Really?
But I found out later doing paranormal investigation that you can take a fluorescent bulb, and if the ions are supercharged and things are going on in the room, because we experimented with this, that gas gets ignited and that light bulb lights up. That's the only thing I can figure to this day.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
When I was a kid, my dad had a CB radio in his car, and he had a what do they call it? I guess it was called a linear amplifier, inline linear amplifier, and I want to say it was like 500 watts or something like that. But you could do that. You could key it up with a fluorescent light bulb, like you could hold it just in your hand and hold it like 5 foot away from the antenna and key up the mic, and the light bulb would just light right up.
Yeah. We snuck a camera in that room. I will tell everybody this openly now. I don't work there. Something we weren't supposed to do, because they have you sign, it's a medical pharmaceutical place. They have all sorts of stuff we have to sign. And we didn't catch anything on film, but we heard a chair move across the locker room where that used to light up. I went up there and retrieved the camera, and where the camera was sitting, the chair had been moved about 5 feet from in front of the locker. And we had an engineer coming out of there one night. He was asked to go in there, because when I reported this, I reported it to the supervisor and said, hey, there's some shit going on up on 4 and 5.
Yeah.
I think you guys should take a look, because, there's some invisible gases that will cause you to hallucinate. I was aware of that. And I thought, well, maybe you guys have nicked something and gas is leaking and we're having all these weird paranormal experiences. That wasn't the case. And that guy came out of there so fast, I would have thought his pants were on fire. And he told us he was never coming back. And this is about 2-3 in the morning. He said he saw some woman up there and she said hi to him. And he said hello back. And then when he realized he's in the building by himself, because he's got to have an access card to get in, and we were no longer using those offices. He was a little beside himself, to say the least.
I bet.
But that's one of many things. And that's the experience that later in life pushed me to start going out with a friend. Now, I had done stuff in Tucson with my buddy. We went out to Fort Huachuca, Tombstone, different places, and we did stuff together, but we weren't really ghost hunting or really investigating. We just wanted to see things. We just thought it was cool. But I started the group around 2006 with another friend. Well, earlier than that, but we became a group in 2006. But we just started doing stuff called the Paranormals. That was our group name, because we were anything but normal, me and this guy. We were cut ups. And we started doing blog talk, podcasts in the day, talking about our experiences, places we had visited.
Okay.
So yeah, I've been doing this on and off for frickin' 12, 13 years or something stupid.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it became a thing, and we tried to merge with a group that, how that works sometimes with people. Then not everybody meshes or clicks, and some of the people stayed with me, and we became the Southern Michigan Paranormal. So I just kind of gave you all the history there in one big long.
No, that's fine. That's
there.
great. That was a good story.
But we, we set out to go to historic places first, and then private stuff, and we've been at it.
When I was a guard like that, Danny, you bring up that 5th and 4th floor, man. You kind of gave me the chills. I worked at a hospital when I was a guard. Yeah. And we had 2 different locations. There was the main hospital, and then like 5 miles, 6 miles down the road, they had a place that was 4 stories, but it was like a doctor's office. And at the 4th floor was mental health. And I would have to go there usually around midnight to 2 o'clock in the morning, and go lock that place down. And we would go by ourselves. We would just go do a walk around outside, and then you go in the building and then make sure every door is locked going in the building. Yeah. As you're going up the floors to the 4th floor, you're making your rounds going up.
Yeah, that's what I was doing too. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I did. And as I'm walking by, the door handles, they're just the long flat door handles. I could pull them down and push, and if that doesn't open, it's locked. You can't get in there. That's for their offices and stuff.
Right.
So as soon as I get there, I hear a door shut, and I'm on the 1st floor. And there's no way out of the hospital, out of this doctor's. Once I lock those electric doors, you cannot get out. There's a fire exit at the bottom, but you go out that door and it will set off an alarm. The whole hospital will go.
Right.
Yeah.
Same here. Yeah.
So when I got up to the 4th floor, I was done doing everything else is locked. As I'm in the last hallway where I come out of where they would go into the doctor's office that's in there, I came out of that office and I'm back in the hallway where they have their individual little offices. And I'm only like 20 feet from the door that's going to the stairwell, and I have my flashlight, and it's dark in there, but I have my flashlight on, and there is hallway lights, but they're real dim. I hear the door handle turn, and as soon as I do, I turn and I looked at the hallway, and I watch the door handle. It's down like this, and it lifted up real slow because they're trying to shut the door so I won't hear them. I grab my keys and my lights in my hand. So I grab my keys and I just start running for that door. And I hit it with everything I had, dude. Whoever was behind it, I was gonna knock them down so I can cuff them and drag them the hell out of the hospital. 4 floors up. I hit that door with everything I had. Less than 5 seconds after the handle moved, and no one was in that. No one's in the stairwell. I hit that door with everything, and they have to run down a whole flight of stairs.
Yeah,
and go
there's
out
no way
another
they could have.
door, and they're gonna have a key to get back into the building. Yeah. So I bust through there and I run down half a flight of stairs before it dawns on me. Just stop so I can hear them, and they're not running. So I look down the stairwell and I'm just listening, waiting for them to go through a door, and nothing. So I walk all the way down it, and now I'm pissed. I go back to the front doors; they're still locked. So I got on the intercom at the bottom where the greeter lady would be to tell you where to go. I pick up her phone and turn on the intercom, and I tell them, dude, you can hear me through the whole hospital. It's just me in there. And I tell them, hey, your ass is locked in here, and I'm gonna find you. And then I hung that thing up, and I went through every room and started at the 4th floor, unlocked every door, and went in every office. Stayed in that building for an extra hour and a half probably, and never found anybody. To this day, it still freaks me out that when I hit that stairwell, there was nobody to knock down behind that door. I was 100% for sure they still had a hold of the door handle when I hit it as hard as I could to have flung it open.
Yeah.
And still to this day, there was no one there. Whoever was hiding from me in there was so damn good that I could not find them. And that was like I was in that building every day almost.
Right.
And they could still hide if that's what it was. Might have been a ghost. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what
I
it
didn't
was,
see anything. I just
Right.
seen the door handle, and yeah, like someone was trying to shut that door real quiet. And
yeah, and I want to rate what I said and against what you're saying too. I obviously too was trying to explain it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to debunk it first. It's got to be the guys. They got to be wearing a mask. They're up here scaring the hell out of me. There's going to be some head beatings when I get downstairs, that kind of thing. Because I can take a joke with everybody else, but there's some things. And yeah, same thing here, man. And this followed me to different places because I ended up the last place I worked for 12 years for a paper company here. I'm with a security corporation, but I worked there, and one of the buildings was 150 years old. It's still there. And it's on the Kalamazoo River. And I went in with a partner one night because we had been experiencing stuff in this whole plant. And it's been there 100 plus years. And same thing. I was one of these guys who didn't believe in the whole touching and pushing people and picking things up. I'm new in paranormal, but I'm not convinced. I'm still skeptical that any of that kind of stuff really takes place, right? Well, this changed my mind because there's a bench that was about 40, 45 pounds or more in this locker room that they kept clean. They kept it pristine because some of the guys would have to do repair work in this older portion of the plant. Now, they were just using it for storage and different things, so they had to have their own locker room. So I go in this locker room, and I'm getting a little upset because I'm like, listen, I hear you moving around in here. Don't be a coward. All you guys got to do is move something. Show me that you're here. Move something. Again, famous last words. And so as we turn our back, we heard something up on the steps, which are directly in front of us. I hear a noise up there. And after I just said, don't be a coward, come out, that bench slid about 6 feet across the floor behind us, and you could hear it. It's like, and I remember coming to my senses, and I was halfway up the stairs. I was moving, man. And my buddy was behind me, and I stopped. I said, what are we running from? It's still deathly quiet in here. It startled us. And so we went back down, and I apologized. And, we got some good EVPs out of there. But,
that would
being in
freak me
security.
out.
In that hospital, that doctor's office one where I would have to go lock that down. I was telling you where I told the guy, you ain't getting out of here. I'm going to find you, dude. You're stuck, and I couldn't find him. There's one room on the bottom floor that I was fucking terrified to go into, Dan. And I mean, it was an every time thing. Every time I went in that building, they had a what they call a dark room where they develop like x-rays and stuff, but it's just like doing pictures, I guess. It's just a red light in there when you turn the light on. And to get in there, there wasn't a door that you opened and walked through. It was this big round cylinder, and you walked into this cylinder, and then the door would circle like this, and then the opening would be in front of you, and you would walk through the room, and it kept it completely dark. I knew as soon as that door went around to open up into that other room, someone was going to be waiting there for me every time in that dark room. And all it has is a red light. So when the light's on in there, you can't see shit.
Yeah, we had one of those here too.
Never seen anyone in there, but for me, that was where I had some fear about going into that stupid dark room every single time I had to go in.
I hear you, Sonny. We had one of those here at when it was Pharmacia. Ended up becoming Pfizer, and it's a building they call the Glass Cathedral. It's the Viagra building, which built this building. So yeah, and I never had anything really happen in there other than a big giant pipe leak with antifreeze. But yeah, I always felt the same way because you'd come in the main entrance and everybody had to pass through that, and theirs was twofold. It was to control entry into the building, and you had to check in with somebody at the front desk, but they also had, the detectors in there. So if you were wearing a gun or something, it would go off. But yeah, I had the same feeling, dude, going in a pitch black room, like something's going to be waiting there. Yep, somebody's broke in. I'm going to get murdered. I'm going to be the security guard who got murdered at Pfizer.
Especially after, and it's crazy because where I worked was Kaiser, and you're talking about, I worked at Kaiser, and you're talking about Pfizer.
That's ironic.
Yeah, two companies, two of the same companies. Yeah. All the rules and regs, man, and adventures. Like we could talk about the outside the paranormal stuff that happened to me there, but yeah. So I started this group, and I began to talk to people throughout Michigan. These less well known places. Henderson Castle is probably the best known, but it was how you talk to people and how I guess your demeanor and what you're after. I still give this spiel that I'm about the integrity and the history of either it be a house or, the castle or historic, building, about holding that number one and telling people the history first, because I'll do my research. But I also want to see if there's somebody here, if there's anybody left over that may have built this place. It lends to the possibility that might be the case. And then I ask, have you had stuff happen here that I could add to our investigation if you're allowing us to come in? And 9 times out of 10, there's usually a story. Everybody's got a story. Sometimes not so much. Henderson was one of those where these people who had owned it and people prior had never reported too much going on. But again, I don't think they were using all the tools and different process that I use when I go in, and I was not let down. So 16 years rather, going on our 17th, I've been going in and out of Henderson Castle, and it's been one of these things where we have activity, we have voices, we have maybe 2 photographs that I can share out of those many years, because I consider it a haunted location, but it's more of an active when it decides it wants to be active. And it's usually surrounding anytime they're rebuilding something in the house, there's been water damage or something happening in the house. And plus it helps. We have a cemetery right across the street. So, that's been one of my number one spots to go. But
seems like they always become more active whenever you decide to change anything with the house or do any remodeling, or like you mentioned, that property before that you were in, you said that they were doing some remodeling with that too. So it seems to be anytime you change anything, they're like, what are you doing? What are you changing?
Do something you're not supposed to be doing. Like when I went and did that walkthrough chat at the barracks, somebody asked me, did you have anything? Were you carrying around a helmet or one of those jackets or anything, from like the museum? And I said no. And then it took a minute for me to realize, no, I was carrying my gun. But my gun's a 1911 that I had on my hip.
That definitely would resonate.
Like 1911, but it's a Kimber. You can't tell the difference looking at them. And that was on my hip when I was walking through that. It's an old retired Army barracks. And when I get halfway through it, Dan, doing this, I watch people do the ghost hunting things, and I didn't really believe it too much. I would say I believed them, but I also believed what they were hearing was very explainable. And so I went and did it for myself just to see if anything would happen. And something happened, dude. Something smacked the wall behind me so hard and so loud. It actually brings me to a complete halt, and you can see it on the camera where I just stopped. It scared the hell out of me. I was stuck probably for a good 10 seconds in one spot with my hand on my gun and couldn't walk back into that room. I was that scared.
I get that from a lot of police officers, man. They tell me, I talk to in different counties, you know, they find out I'm the ghost guy, or I meet them at different events because I do a lot of charity stuff through my Ghostbusters too. And they tell me the same thing. They'd rather go in there after an armed perp than some of these buildings they go into, because they hear people talking and there's nobody in the building.
I would have rather had someone shooting at me from that room than to happen. Yeah, it was so loud, man.
I've only had that moment once. Like I said, I've been involved in somebody trying to shoot me. And I told people, said, you know, there's times I'd rather have somebody shoot at me, I think, than what I'm feeling in this place. Yeah. I don't want to. I'm not a big D guy. I hate the D word. You know, all the paranormal groups and TV shows want to tell you demonic. I'm a dude that's not so impressed by that, because 99% of what I've dealt with has been very unique and more of a beautiful experience and very positive in many ways. There's only been about 5 that I thought were negative. And I think through our research and our how we go at this, investigate it, because, you know, we do a lot of things in my group, that we pretty much felt that was a guy who was an a-hole, or woman who was an a-hole when they were alive, and they're kind of an a-hole and they're still hanging out. That seemed to be more of what I have found. Now, I'm not saying these demonologists and all these other people are wrong. I'm just saying, you know, the brain, the way that we are all brought up is our brain is set in a place to recognize, now listen, we've had a touch of religion, don't matter who you are. And the first thing you start hearing about all these demonic and these evil spirits, you know. So later on, when you're doing this work, it's hard to untrain yourself from that. And so I had to even regroup myself and say, listen, I don't think there's so many minions of Satan running around trying to scare me. And most of these locations I've been in, it's just not, it's in that area. And I could be very wrong. I could, you know, when I got a chance to atone, and I'm a guy who believes in God, I'm a very spiritual individual, I'll say, hey, I'm sorry, I had it wrong. But I've yet to come up against anything chasing me out of a house. Now, I've had something happen on the ghost box, an EVP that I captured, that gave me kind of thought, you know, like I wasn't a portal believer. I think I'm kind of turning the corner on that too. But that's how I operate, and I'm with you, Sonny. You know, it's just, there's no telling how they communicate. You know, people with the scratching and the biting and different things that take place. We just don't know what effort it takes for them to communicate with us from the other side. And I always caution everybody, don't immediately think that somebody is trying to get you out of a place and that some demon is attacking you. This could be a person.
Yeah. That's how I felt about it once they mentioned to me, like, was I carrying, once I realized I was carrying that 1911, I looked at it different. As I was walking, just picture if I was walking through that barrack back when the barrack was still going, and you seen me at 2:00 in the morning walking through your barracks with a sidearm and didn't know me.
Right.
I felt like something was telling me I wasn't supposed to be doing what I was doing. Either go to bed or get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
I was definitely get the hell out of here feeling. That was the end of the recording. I think the end of it ends with me saying, this is so too scary, man. This shit's just too much. Yeah. I tried to go into the last barrack room, and I think I lasted like 5 minutes, and I got the hell out of there.
And I don't besmirch anybody feeling the way you do. I really don't. I tell people, you know, if you're going to have a group, and some of us that do this, and we, you know, I've had the group going for, you know, 2008, 2009 SMP. So, you know, I tell them that, well, you have to be in the right mindset, and you have to be the right guy to kind of go into some of these locations. And I've had people who, they're cool with the light activity, but when some stuff really ramps up, and we've had some crazy things like you've described happen, you know, they're about running out of the place with the hair on fire. And I tell them, well, I'll bring you out on some things and other things I'm not going to have.
Lie. I would like to lie and tell you, no, I ran the fuck up out of there. But
yeah, like I said, I
hadn't seen it. I wouldn't be telling the truth right now about it. I've showed him the video. I'm literally stuck for like 10 seconds and I can't move.
Oh, I've done it. I'm telling you, I witnessed a lady, a shadow figure of a lady. 2 other people were with me, and I was paused for a second, because I'm not quite sure again what I am seeing, and I gave hesitation, and then I ended up doing that whole Ghostbuster thing. You know, I didn't say get her, but it was damn close, because I was like, hi, my name's Dan, and I started walking in the hallway, and she stepped back and disappeared, and we lost the moment, man. And I'm so mad at myself, but I get too excited now more than I do anything. But I still give caution, I do. Because the real element is still out there that if you go out to certain cemeteries or locations, we've been asked to do places where they've caught homeless people and different people in that location. And I go out, I tell everybody I'm a Second Amendment guy. I go out carrying, man, because I'm just thinking I don't know who I'm going to come up against, so that caution is always there. But paranormal wise, we had this. If you guys go to my SMP Facebook page, Southern Michigan Paranormals on Facebook, I think there's an audio file. If not, go to my network. I appreciated Cassie putting that up. We have a page dedicated to SMP, and I'm telling you three guys, there's an EVP on there I want you to hear, and it's from a hack box. And I asked this guy's name, not once but twice, because I kept thinking I was hearing John. And if you listen closely, you hear him kind of whispered saying John. And the first response is a group of people yelling at me and Bob Penny. I mean, screaming at us over this box. That's not random. They were responding like, "What's your name?" And everybody's like, "Oh!" They're screaming at us. I remember looking at Bob and looking at the front door, looking at Bob, and Bob's been doing this since '92. We had a thought like I was ready to run out that door. So I know what Sonny's saying. I was ready to run outside, take a break for a second, because I've never heard that. Since I've not heard it after. I've not heard it again. That gave me a lot of pause, and I thought, what are we dealing with here? I asked again shortly after that what his name was, and the guy yelled at us very loudly and clearly, Class A plus, and he yells John very loud through this device. So I never used to put too much into using that because people were misidentifying. That's the thing with a lot of equipment. And once we started using it on a case, which Spooky will get this. So we did a case where it was a Mexican family here in Hartford, Michigan. And we were asking things in Spanish. I brought Manny Hernandez in my group along to interpret and to speak, because I speak very little. I can say hello, goodbye, different things, order food. And in response, we were getting responses in Spanish. Now there's no Spanish American radio stations out in Hartford, Michigan. There are none. And they were answers direct to our questions. And that's when I knew that the box has a possibility that it's actually running through open frequencies, that it's catching whatever is talking to us, whether it be in the room or wherever, it's honing in on that, and we're actually getting answers. Now, there's times we get nothing. I get a lot of radio stuff, and it's nothing. There's times I get strange interference. But I've had some unique things happen on that still give me pause. I won't say it frightens me, but it makes me uneasy if I can put it in those terms.
Anything you can't explain, you're going to have some type of feeling like that. Just like, well, how is this happening?
My daughter and son, when I brought them out for their first case when they hit 15, saw something, and I asked them how they felt. And they said, I had butterflies in my stomach. Was real uneasy, but I wanted to see more. And I said, you hit it right on the head. That's exactly what I still go through sometimes if I'm able to see something or witness something. It's been a while since I've seen anything, which is rather frustrating. But I still will see some shadow movement, and I still pick up a lot of auditory things that aren't there that other people can't hear. But I've been justified because my recorders picked it up when I made mention. So,
did you notice anything different in your life that changed when you noticed that difference, where you haven't been able to pick anything else up?
Only when I started hitting my 30s. Things seemed, I can't see there's a life change for men in their 30s. I don't know that there is.
Right.
But it just seemed to be more, more pronounced.
You said more pronounced when you turned 30?
I seem to be more pronounced in my 30s. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I really started hearing more and seeing more, and I didn't want to really share it openly. I didn't even tell my wife. There was one friend, Deb Para, who's the vice president of my group. I would share it with her, and she just said, well, what do you think's happening? I said, well, I don't think I got onset dementia that I know of, but there's just this weird stuff. And I was at many different scenes through my work in security where somebody had passed away, and I would see weird things and hear weird things while that was happening. And I kept it to myself. There's just a lot that's gone on with me that I can't quite I still don't know how to, in perspective, how to explain it to anybody other than, I get things. One of the stories they tell in my lecture at Henderson Castle was Claire Burley. And this is a Spanish-American War veteran. And the short of the story is that he had a connection to the castle across the street when he came to me. It took me a year to track this down with a lot of false leads. My friend Christy Robinette even called me and said that, do I have a cemetery in the middle of town, which she would not know. It's not really an open thing that people know. And it took a year, and I finally had an incident with Claire, and I saw him almost like a brief image in my head. This is how I perceive a lot of things. And he was pointing, and I could hear his voice saying, Danny. And I could see him as this little man in this brown suit. I can still see him. And he was waving me away from the Taylor Henderson burial plot. And as I walked over there, he stopped. I saw a ball of light in the lilac bushes, which are gone now. But we all saw it. We took a picture. We recorded that.
What color was that light?
How bright was it?
No, what color was the light you saw?
It was like a little bit of white in the center and yellow on the edges.
Okay.
It was almost like somebody had a spotlight, but I'd never seen that light type before.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was gone. And then I turned to my left because I still felt like he was there. And I hadn't noticed the headstones that are in the ground, those small, short ones.
Mm-hmm.
I virtually tripped over his headstone, hurt my shin. I didn't fall. I kind of stepped back and looked at it. And what this is connected to is if you see that painting right here that I'm pointing to, it's Henderson Castle portrait. On that, written in dust, says Claire. A year before, I discovered that painting in a room that nobody had been in for 3 years, full of dust. Nobody disturbed it, and that was written on the face of that picture. You can still read it. I've preserved it.
Wow, that's crazy.
So a year later, I find who Claire is because I assumed it was Clara Henderson. It wasn't. It's Claire Burley. And so I took a picture. We did lifetime EVP. We heard a ruffled yes that this was him. I asked if it was him. He said yes. I asked if I could take a photo. Another yes. Nothing came out in the photo. And then I set my research person onto it. And she came back with, I thought maybe a file. She came back with like a stack of stuff. And we found out that Claire had been in this volunteer unit, Spanish-American War, same unit, different company as James Henderson, who was Frank Henderson's son. Frank Henderson, when they mustered out of Kalamazoo before he died, had hand-presented that unit with a flag. This is what Henderson Ames Company did. They made flags and regalia and swords and everything,
okay.
So the short of it was we found out who he was, found out that connection to Henderson. He's right across the street. This explains why I may have heard him or whoever said hey to me upstairs. That's why I discovered the photo. And, once we had brought all that information we gathered, and Denise found out that she was also related to him, which was weird. She also found out, that Henderson connection. Both veterans administrations gave us a thank you letter. I still have those on the wall somewhere here and here. Because the Spanish-American War veteran honor roll couldn't find him. We found him. So they gave us a thank you letter. We also got one from the Veterans Administration thanking us because that was part of Denise's research. And you can't ask for anything better. And once we brought that stuff to light and we brought it to the previous owners, Pete and Laura McNellis, Livingstone, we gave it to them, and everything that was happening to me around this, because I'm leaving a lot out. I'm just giving you the short version.
Yeah.
And things that were happening around Denise, it all stopped. It all halted immediately. And we felt that he was lost. He was looking for some help. And because of me being told by Christy Robinette, that having this gift that I have sometimes, there's a light, an aura around me, and they are aware that I can hear them at times. And I wasn't even thinking anything along, trying to see a ghost. I just wanted to see what was up at the castle. And I don't know, man, it came to rest. And the present was this picture. Peter and Laura gave that to me as a gift a week later and hand wrapped it in a brown envelope, and I've preserved it so you can still see Claire written in it. Right. And, that's an 1890 frame, and it's gold leaf, so that's a couple $1,000 sitting there on my wall. Wow. And I first told him no, and Pete told me he was going to shove it up my my ASS if I didn't take it. because they felt I did somebody a service. So with my group, we kind of took that on as our moniker, history with mystery, and we've been doing that, since day one from the castle. That's just one of many stories, because if you'd listen to me, you'd think every place I go is haunted, but that is really not the truth. 289 investigations later, I can tell you that not every place we go has activity or is haunted, because, I've sat in places 10, 16 hours and we get nothing. It's not a total loss because it's a cool place. I'm able to sit and go to a place others can't get into, but I've done air zoos, castles, mansions. 2 World War II vessels. It's crazy.
Wow.
It's crazy. Yeah, I look back at all the experiences I've had. Thanks for having me on the show, by the way. I want to thank all of you guys. As you can tell, I love to talk.
Dan. Yeah, it's awesome.
Spooky's been quiet and patient over there this whole time.
Hey, brother, you are you are just a treasure trove of unbelievable stories, brother. There's no reason to talk. You're doing amazing, and we are so lucky to have you with us.
I realize
brother.
I get going and I don't stop. Thanks.
No. This is you're making it easy.
Yeah, that's perfect.
But even doing the 2 World War II ships, and learning the history of both of those, being active in World War II. So
was one of them the North Carolina?
No, it was the USS Silversides. It's a World War II submarine. It's the
Ooh.
most decorated World War II submarine still in the water here in Muskegon, Michigan. You can pay $35, maybe $40, way things are going. I think they may have increased their price, but you can get a group of friends and spend the night on this submarine all year round. It's got heat and electric.
I was not aware of that.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
that'd be
when
fun.
they tell you this submarine operated in the Sea of Japan, they were literally in the Bay of Japan. They did 8 or 9 missions, different commanders.
Wow.
And there's
You
a
would
movie.
think that bay was filled up with landmines too. That's got to be dangerous.
Well, funny, Sonny, you were on target, man. I was going to bring that up, so I'll jump to that story first. So it has the distinguished honor of being an American ship who flew the Japanese flag and fired on a Japanese ship and sunk it. And that's because they went through mine nets, and the nets got caught in their saw on the front of the submarine. So there's little Japanese flags on the sub. They surfaced and got into a battle with this ship and ended up sinking it. So that's very cool.
Whoa.
The other part is they have a pharmacist mate. They didn't have a doctor on one of these trips. So there's a movie out there. I forget which movie it is, but they took that incident from the Silversides, which is where this pharmacist mate had to call Pearl Harbor. They had to get out far enough to get away from radio recognition to Pearl Harbor in order to perform an appendectomy on this guy. And that really happened on that submarine. And it was used later in a movie. And they've uncovered some more video and stuff to this submarine, but it's a very unique vessel. I would tell you that video that I captured on there was featured on Fox 17 one year. We have a manifestation and a shadow figure, both caught on camera when we were not on board. The light source we weren't on board for. The shadow, it was me, because I knew somebody was in the forward torpedo room with us. And right after I asked them to show themselves, you'll see a shadow pop up between me and an investigator, and it goes along the wall and it shoots back down. I was lucky enough that Fox 17 has editing software way beyond what I have, and they could slow it down frame by frame. And you see this person pop up, and you see that he looks like he's wearing, like an overcoat or something, but just by the shadows. And then it looks like he's wearing the soup bowl, the old sailor's hat. And he goes across the wall and shoots back down. Craziness. We caught a dog barking on board. My group responds to it, says, "Does anybody else hear a dog?" And you can hear this dog clear as a bell.
Oh,
barking inside a submarine. Reason being,
that was a dogfish. That was a dogfish.
I've never thought of that. Well played, sir. I'm going to start telling people that. I think it was a dogfish.
It's catfish. It's got to be dogfish.
That's right.
Damn, I'm going to use that next lecture. So what it comes down to is that I went back for the reveal, and we were sitting in the, the galley where all the regular sailors would sit. And right behind me was this Stars and Stripes magazine. If those of you don't know, Stars and Stripes had a magazine out during the war years, and they would feature stuff from all over the world, sailors, army guys, whatever. And on there was an article about their mascot. Can you guess what the mascot was? It was a dog. and his name was General, and he was on the first mission that the submarine ever did. I don't know where he went to the bathroom or whatever went on with that, but
now you got to go back and call it. You got to try to call that dog.
Yeah, I've got a way to go back. You know, we did that twice. I did it for the then owner, Rob Moran, who has passed away. God bless him. He saved that submarine from Navy Pier in Chicago because the guy had bought it and it was going to rot. Rob, brought it over here. Bob Moran did. And we were one of the first to, contract, written up papers to actually do a paranormal investigation on it. So,
cool.
Some great stuff. And then the other ship was the LST-393, which sits on the other part of the lake in Muskegon. And this was a landing ship tank where the front opens up, and they drive tanks and troops come out. And so this is on the landing in D-Day, Normandy Beach, or Omaha or Normandy, one of the two. Had made 60 trips back and forth as not only a hospital ship, but a prisoner of war ship. People had died in transport because people were badly injured. They had SS troops that they finally had to chain to the lower deck because some of the SS troops were jumping overboard because they didn't want to face, war crimes and go into jail.
Right.
And then in the 50s, it was a car ferry. So that explains why there's a big hole cut in the side of the thing. There it is. Yeah, that's it. You can see that little doorway there on the what is that? Where would that
that's
be?
A lot bigger than I thought.
Way bigger than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I thought you were talking about the open bay.
This thing is a monster.
Where they got the guys coming in and the gate lowers, and you can drive a tank off of those. But
they have some of those too. But these were it, and it got its nickname "Lucky Lady" in the war because it never took a hit. Bullets, nothing. Never. I mean, all the other ships were getting sunk, and it got nothing. The only time it received damage is when they were in Cherbourg doing a refit, putting in some new gun placements and stuff, and an Italian ship ran into the side of it and killed 3 people.
What's that door on the side for, Dan?
That was cut later for a car ferry in the 50s.
That's what you're talking about?
That's what I'm talking about. So that wasn't there in World War II.
Well, that's a huge door.
Yeah.
It's
it's a nice breeze when you open it up because it is hotter than hell in there. Because what you don't see in that front entrance is they've painted in and it's glass and it's all sealed and locked.
Oh,
it's a museum. It's a museum.
Okay.
I tell people to go to both places.
I'm definitely going there. I can't believe that's here.
There, man. I would really like to see that.
Oh, it's an amazing thing. So in the 50s, when you had a massive amount of different ships, they all have shipping lanes that they're supposed to stick to. If you go out on there with a private boat or whatever, you are to know those on charts and stay out of certain shipping lanes because at night, especially with the way you sit in the wheelhouse in the front of this ship right here, you cannot see in front of that ship directly. And if it's dark and you don't have running lights on and you're in their shipping lane, guess what happens? You get run over. So in the 50s, they hit a party barge that was out there on Lake Michigan because it used to go from Milwaukee to Muskegon and take cars. And they hit this thing and everybody on board, 15 people were killed. And so it's got a history of some death and stuff attributed to it, over its period. But nobody on board, other than the 3 people that died that I know of, perished otherwise. But I will tell you that place is very haunted. We used to pay to go up there, and we did this for about 5 years running. It was our September group getaway. And I would pay, and we would have 3 nights and 3 days to ourselves around the last part of September. And we'd spend the night on the deck. We had beautiful weather. I think one year we had rain where we could, we live in the officers' quarters up above. Ron Morsfeld, who was our contact at the time, used to get the shower and the water running for the girls because God forbid they can't have a shower and do their hair. And so we would spend that time and we investigate each night we were there. And I got some amazing stuff off that ship. I wish Shane Feek was here with me today because he's one of our guys. He's our physicist engineer in my group. And he's got some amazing recordings that I'll share with you guys, another time, if I'll have you guys on my show, whatever. I want Shane to bring that stuff and have you hear this because it's radio conversations from somebody that shouldn't be on the radio. And it's a night we were having thunderstorms. Shane had hooked his computer stuff up to the antenna inside, which should be get nothing outdoors. They still have the antenna leads connected outside because there's a group of guys here in Michigan. They do war games, so they still use that radio and use that radio room to do those war games.
Yeah.
So we got normal radio traffic over his computer, obviously on the outside antenna. Inside, there's different frequency codes that are in a framed picture upstairs in the wheelhouse and radio room that have not been used since World War II. Nobody is on those frequencies. And you can't do this outside the ship to begin with because the ship is gaussed. I don't know if you guys know what that means, but there is copper wire about this big around, all the way around that ship, and it still has electricity running through it, mainly because they power the vessel and there's heat and different things going on. But in World War II, that was used to push away mines. It's static electricity, so it would push away any mines that were in the water, so it wouldn't get hit by mines.
Like a magnetic field?
It's a magnetic field.
Wow.
That's a fact. So
That's interesting.
Yeah, we'd use our radios in there, which would kind of work because of all that stuff going on. But with his device, you should get nobody on these frequencies. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So as he's sitting next to me, Shane sits up and he's like, "I hear you. Could you repeat your coordinates?" And I'm interested because I know he's on that thing and he's just running an experiment and he's talking to somebody.
That's crazy.
He couldn't get the guy to identify himself. I've heard this. Then he starts picking up old time music. No joke. He starts picking up some religious broadcasts, and the way the guy's talking, he's like, "When you soldiers go forward, you're going to do this and this and that, and this," and then it would fade. Now, what's interesting about this is we have that side door open. That was the year about 3 or 4 years ago. We had electrical storms moving through Michigan that caused all sorts of damage. And it was coming through Muskegon. And every time there was a lightning strike, we could see the sky light up, and we would hear it in a distance because it now was starting to creep in on us.
Mm-hmm.
This is when he was hearing that stuff. This is when that stuff would come through.
Okay.
So, but the guy responded to him once, which tells me that's an intelligent response.
Mm-hmm.
Because the guy said, "Listen, we're at such and such coordinate. We've taken damage on the port side of the ship, which would be the side that they were hitting in Italy." And Shane cannot make heads or tails of this. And I said, "Have you ever seen the movie Final Countdown, dude? That's what this reminds me of. We just now have voices that we don't know if it's a residual echo, but I'm thinking is intelligent because that guy responded to you when you asked him to repeat coordinates. He gave you coordinates and then he fades out."
That's nuts.
And it's ship to shore frequency, guys. People, fellas and fellettes out there listening.
It's not
that
like
should not exist.
No, it's not CB frequencies.
Nothing, because he's designed to make sure that he doesn't pick that kind of thing up.
Right.
This is a physicist guy that we're talking about. So he looked at me and he goes, "Well, Holroyd, what am I supposed to think of that?" And I'm like, "Well, Mr. Shane, welcome to the paranormal. This is like one of his first times out with me."
Your initiation.
Said, "You're the engineer. You explain it. You figure it out, dude."
That's crazy.
We've not had that happen since. It's the weirdest damn thing.
Well, that's cool to get an engineer's perspective and be like, try to figure this out.
Oh, he's been great. He's been great. He all those things. How many of you ghost hunt here on the show? All of you guys ghost hunt? No?
I did that once. I won't do that again.
Okay, well, I got a case, and we have EMF meter. We got digital recorder, motion sensor. I got a slew of stuff, right? Everything that we would hold in our hands to do a paranormal investigation, Shane has now built in a small little device. It does everything. Reads ambient temperature in the room, motion in the room, all sorts of stuff. Plus, it's got a nurse call button that you have to push. And he will leave that in certain rooms. And we now have a lot of analyzation and graphics and, analytics that we can put to work, which I'm so happy because we can design what part of the room, divided up into sectors according to his device, what has the most activity, what's the weather like outside, it monitors all this stuff. And, we've been lucky at a couple of locations where he had a thing push the button and he had it on camera and there's nobody in sight on the IR camera. Lights are on, but regardless, somebody pushed that button. You have to physically push this button to mark a spot. And we were not in the room. He's had other things, happen in a museum that we work with that we're going to have Ghost-O-Rama at. So it's a whole nother show I could do with you, but it's nice having Shane, because he comes to us with more of a skeptical view than even I have now. And it's fun to watch him react when we get real communication. And he's
I
gone
bet.
out with us to cemeteries, and he is just like, holy cow. So now Shane is out going around all over the country doing stuff independently. And he also does a podcast with Jay Hill called Studio 6. So, yeah, Shane's all over the place, man, but he's really cool. It's really cool.
Drew says Shane's a freaking genius. He creates great equipment.
Yeah, Drew is a good guy. I worked with Drew. I guess he always says in a mentor type of fashion. He's got a parahistorical society here in Cassopolis, and he does living histories, mysteries, and Drew's been around, done some things. So I'm just there to cross the T's and dot the I's, and these guys are fairly new in what they're doing, and sometimes I feel like a bad guy because I'm criticizing some of their work or some things that they're doing. But, you know, doing this as long as I have, I went through some of that, and I've learned a better process and better ways, and what most of my equipment is supposed to do, what it's not supposed to do. You know, things that are out here that affect your K2s and all this stuff that goes on. And I really try to bring that to bear working with Drew. So I can't say enough about Drew. He's a good dude.
Yeah, he is awesome. Yep. He had my sister on when she was like just getting started with her channel, and helped her out. It was really cool to have. She was like, what do I do? I'm like, it's just an interview. He's just going to talk to you. She's like,
yeah, just talk to people, man.
What kind of answers am I going to have to come up with? I'm like, they're just basic. It's just like a normal interview. You're going to be fine.
Right.
So yeah,
but
I think Drew was like her first interview.
I find interesting that when Michelle sends me people, you know, they have these bullet points of things you're supposed to ask.
Oh yeah.
And I tell her, well, I'll probably ask 3 of those. You know, I'm always outside the box. I'm never looking to expose or be crappy to anybody. But I asked them some different things, and they've all appreciated it. And I said, well, I keep it respectful, man. You know,
Yeah.
I just have people on my show to talk about their 15 minutes of fame, I guess, or whatever, and whatever they believe in. You know, and I respect a lot of people who follow whatever they believe in. I've had some people that are way out there, man, but I still tell them, you know what? You believe what you believe, and I respect that, and do your thing. You know, I'm here to let people listen to you and make their own judgment. That's much like what I do here. You could think I'm as full of shit as the next guy, but you know, I try to tell everybody I put a lot of integrity and stuff into my work. Yeah.
I would have told you already. You're full of shit, man.
Full of shit, man. And that's true, according to my wife. If you're to listen to her, I'm full of, not on this, but
the other day we were having a private meeting off the air. It was me, Spooky, and Chad. Spooky said something to me, but thank you for talking to this certain person. And my wife's in the back right here in the garage, and she's yelling at Spooky. So yeah, you guys wanted to talk, and I can't get him to shut the fuck up.
Has that been this interview? Is that what I've done? Is that what I've done here? Is that
Not at all, man. You've been great.
I got a lot to share, man.
You're like one of those guys that yeah, it just feels like we've been a part of the group for a long time.
Yep,
I'll join your group, man. I'll be part of a lot of things. I'm one of those truth seekers too, but I'm also a guy that, you know, if people are into something, I didn't used to be this way. I will tell you that I was one of the first to call BS, and I kind of did that in some of my past, very, very early days, thinking I was the paranormal police, and I'm not, you know. And what I said was like, listen, you know, if there's some people that I go watch their stuff and I'm not quite convinced, I won't interview them. I won't have them on the show.
Yeah.
That's still kind of true today because there's so many wackoids out there. And I mean that with all due respect, any wackoids listening. Okay.
Any wackoids listening.
But you got to have some content to back up these claims or things that you're saying.
Yeah.
And like I said, most of my stuff is out there in the public. I've got a whole line of haters. I've had stuff done to me. I've had people lie about me and try to bring me down. That kind of goes on in the paranormal too.
That's when you know you've made it.
I guess so. I guess you're doing something right when people hate your guts, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would not like to think I'm full of poop, but
oh no, man.
you know, seeing some of the stuff, I will tell you, I'm blessed to have done as much as I've done, see some of the things I've seen, and continue to do it. You know, I've met a lot of famous people through this, and then this has opened doors. When I started my Ghostbuster group, you know, 12 years ago, and now, you know, we're 7 years into the new formed group. We do that for charity. You know, we do it because we're fandoms of the Ghostbuster genre, and I got the packs of suits. I got an Ecto. I formed a coalition. Oh yeah, I got a coalition here in Michigan. It's about 13 other groups, and there's about 200 of us, and we're able to meet people at Comic Cons. We're free in every Comic Con except Motor City. I don't know what their problem is, but they don't. It must be the guy that runs Detroit. He's one of my co-founders.
Mhm.
But I have people come to me and ask me. They're like, they see the car, which is the 7th one I've built. By the way, I need an intervention.
Wait, seventh what?
The seventh Ectomobile.
There's one here in where I live.
Yeah, I'm friends with the California.
There's a guy that is just sitting on the side of his house and been there for like 20 years. They don't drive it or anything.
We got one here that's like that too, dude. Isn't that crazy? It's like, hey man, let's do a video with you. Nah, I'm good. I'm good.
That's weird.
Yeah. So I do. People come to me, does this stuff really work? And I'm like, you've seen the movie, right? This is not real. None of it's real. I don't do that anymore. I used to go, it's not real. But my guys will point me out and say, well, Dan does this for real. And I told them to stop doing that because, I'd get all the wacky people. But I do get some great leads, man. They see that car and it opens doors. So I've been lucky. Awesome. Yeah, I started out with a Jeep, or actually a Tracker. Went to 2 Jeeps. A Durango I had for the longest time. I love that Durango. We called it Lightning because when it was red, when I bought it off one of my friends who's in my Ghostbuster group, the front of it looked like Lightning McQueen from, Cars. And his kids named it, so we called it Lightning. And I just retired that, and I did a Jeep Liberty. Now my daughter's driving that. Now I got a Jeep Commander that's all dressed up with the lights and.
Oh, that's awesome. I'd love to see those. Are those on your Facebook page or anything?
It's on my, if you look under the Kalamazoo Ghostbusters or the Great Lakes Ghostbuster Coalition, you'll spot me in there. I'm all over the place. I'm like a bad penny.
The one I was talking about is it looks like one of the cars they used in the movie. It's all Cadillac.
Yeah,
it's got the ghost. It's got the Ghostbuster painted on the sign with the light through it and all the lights on top.
Oh yeah,
I don't know what they used it for, but the guy won't part with it.
We have 3 groups that have the 1984 from the Girls movie, so they've been able to obtain those horses. We have one guy that's got a 1960 Miller Meteor. He's a police officer. I won't say his name. He always gets on me about saying his name. He's in Downriver, Detroit, but he's got the one that looks like the 59. And dude, he said he's going to end up by when it's all done putting $150,000 into making it look just like the 84.
Jeez.
I've had the luck. I will tell you, that's mine.
That's awesome.
Oh, that's cool, man.
I've had the luck of sitting in the 84 when Sony was here doing the Grand Prix in Detroit, and got to drive it a whole 5 feet. Runs like hell, even after they revamped it. But it's one of many. I'm not sure it's like, one of those. We know it was used in the movie. I just don't know because there were several. People don't know there've been several different cars, but
I thought that was Dan Aykroyd for a second.
That's when I remember Sean. Here he is with his dog. Yeah, that's when
This
group
looks
went
like
downtown
a lot of
for
fun.
Christmas. Yeah, we do Easter and Christmas, and we have movie packs. We got spirit packs. I've got an original pack that the frame, it basically was done off the movie pack from '84, and
man.
I just updated it with what they call the Spengler wand from the new movie. So it does a lot of different things, but
This looks like a lot of fun.
we have a lot of fun with the kids. I'm going to tell you the greatest byproduct of doing this, because we do a lot of it for ourselves. The byproduct is we get to work with families. And what's that?
You built the RC box.
Oh, you just
These
got
guys are
some.
doing
Yeah,
it right.
the girl on the end, that's Nancy Robinson. She built that right after. The movie was still out in the theater. She built that as soon as she saw it, and that thing moves.
This is amazing.
Yeah, we have a good time, but the byproduct is being with the families and the kids. We offer role models. I do background checks of everybody involved because I don't want, the predators and other people involved. So I'm very careful about that. And we're asked to be in all these Comic-Cons as entertainment. So we get provided free passes. We set up a booth and we do our magic, man.
I can imagine. This is.
Yeah. We're not always on the shelf like Star Wars and the superheroes, so we always, now that they're going to do a sequel, You know, we're going to be back. We back up and notice that white HHR. That's Anthony's in my group.
That is so cool.
He borrowed from the toy line. That's why he's got all the pink slime, and he wanted to be antique because those cars always look like they're from the 40s.
Yeah.
So that's why he's got the Michigan State police
Yeah, the
light
bubble
on there. Yeah. And I would tell you, the only time we get to run sirens and lights and do 55 is when we do the parade for the Great Lakes Burn Camp for children. I would tell you that most states have a great, you know, like a burn camp. So look them up in your state. I'm sure California's got them too, or wherever you're at.
Go
we
back
raise
up,
money.
Chad.
They take.
I'm sorry, man. Is that Beetlejuice?
That is Beetlejuice. That's Michigan Beetlejuice, man.
Where?
Keep
Let's
going.
see him.
Keep going. Right there.
Oh, right here.
Yeah, look on that. That's
Yep.
Chris Jenkinson.
Beetlejuice.
He used to do Beetlejuice in the 90s in Universal Studios, and I met him through his son, and we asked him to come out with us. Now he's the Michigan Beetlejuice.
That's awesome. Yeah, he looks like Eric, our friend Eric. That we have. Paranormal Highway.
And Chris does come out with me and do paranormal things with me too.
Oh, that's
Very
sweet. Man, this
There's
is a
Neil.
great. This looks like a really good time.
It's a lot of fun. I will tell you, you spend a lot of money when your hobbies, when you get involved in this.
Oh yeah, when you start getting cars involved and stuff.
I appreciate this, Dan. It's my glow in the dark Slimer. I've had this
I love that.
I've had that forever, man. It's
that's sweet.
I'll send a guest to you. Her name is Robin Shelby.
Okay.
And she was Slimer in Ghostbusters 2, and she also provided the voice in the girls' Ghostbusters of the female Slimer.
Wow.
And when she did Ghostbusters 2, I think at 14 or 15, that was her first acting gig. And Robin's a hell of a Ghostbuster fan. You know, she's one of those people like Ernie Hudson. I've gotten to spend time with Ernie. Ernie came here to Imagine Theaters with my Detroit guy, and he said, "Hey, Ernie's here for the weekend. Do you want to come over?" That's a no-brainer. It's like, duh. So we ended up hanging out with Ernie for a weekend and ended up having pizza with him and his family and a guy he's been childhood friends with for 40 plus years and all sorts of stuff. And Ernie's I want to tell everybody, Ernie is the real deal. He is a very down-to-earth actor. He's one of those Hollywood people that he's not all about the bullshit. And he was really cool with us. He was mad at us. Well, not us, but a couple of our people, because we kept sneaking his stepmom outside so she could have cigarettes. She wasn't supposed to be smoking. So Ernie was really cool. He signed all of our stuff for free. And just a wonderful. And Detroit, Eric's got pictures with Ernie on the steps of some old factory building. Ernie called him up, I guess, and said, "What are you guys doing today?" And he says, "Yeah, you want to suit up and take pictures with us?" And Ernie's like, "Hell yeah." So he treated Ernie to dinner and took him around Detroit. And
suit up.
Yeah, and he's always got a suit. He's always got a suit on hand. So,
oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, he's a cool dude.
That's really cool.
But that has led into a lot of paranormal, doorways, because people say, "Listen, I got an inn, or I got a house, or I got a building. Would you guys be interested?" And I said, "Hell yeah, I would. Here's my info." I carry cards with me constantly, and give me a call, and it's opened some doors, man. It's some very unique and interesting places. We're getting ready to do a place called, I won't say it here on air, but I will say that it was a service station in the 30s, 40s, and 50s, a little bit of the 60s. It's been in this guy's family that long. His great-great-grandfather started it, and it's been turned into a restaurant, like a roadside restaurant, and it's the coolest damn thing. Their house used to be on the property, and so we're getting ready to go pay them a visit, because according to the owner, when they first opened, and they were doing construction, I got the hiccups. Some of that stuff reared up. And
okay.
He said his donut maker used to say she would get troubled in the morning because over in this certain corner, she would see a person for a second, then they'd be gone. And he said he didn't have the heart to tell her, but that's where the original door to the service station was. That's where people came in. So that, got my interest immediately, and just a great group of people. But we're getting ready to do one Saturday in Benton Harbor, Michigan, called the Morton House. So I'll be there with the crew doing some stuff. So
sweet. And you
a lot of good times, man.
What was the YouTube channel that you upload most to?
That I upload to?
Yeah.
It's under Unrestricted Paranormal.
Okay.
And I've got podcasts on there. I don't do content like I used to. I will tell everybody, it's not that I want this to come off in a good way. I don't have a big head. Trust me, I'm nobody. I'm the little guy here in Michigan. We had peaked at one time doing this. We started out with Blog Talk. Then we were recruited once I'd been on Blog Talk for a couple of years because I had a paranormal show and a show called Big Dog Show. They wanted paranormal over on this new thing called Internet TV. This is when it started. So we were with a thing called People's TV Network. And we would go on just before Shannon Sylvia and her husband, and she's from Ghost Hunters International, and became friends with them. You know, I haven't talked to them in a while, but we were on there. And what they wanted to do is what we're doing here. They wanted to see me and John sit in a studio and talk about paranormal and have guests on and talk about our adventures, show things, run commercials. It was a whole thing. So we peaked, and we ended up getting Chevy as a sponsor, Coca-Cola on this network. Really cool. And around about that time, two of the guys that were producing for me behind the scenes decided they were going to go back to school. So when we were rated like number 2, we were just getting ready to be number 1 program on this network. They decided, well, we're going back to school, and this is our last show, Dan. Really? Okay. Oh. So I stepped out. I went back into Blog Talk for a little bit. I went into other things like live stream and you know, like I said, toyed with it on and off. And I took about a year, maybe 2-year break. And then I decided with Bob Penny that we were going to restart a network. And we had that for a couple of years, and I've rebranded it into Unrestricted. And all we do there is I have Unrestricted Paranormal and I Want to Believe. I carry Haunted Mittens podcast. They're really cool. It's about true crimes and different things. And I've done some different stuff on that network. So I've always been out here. It's just I pick and choose. And YouTube used to be one of those things that we would put everything we did up there. We had commercials. We had, you know, from the TV show, we'd run all the shows. Yeah. We would copy them and rerun them. And I don't know. It's a lot of work. You do this, and you know, with podcasting, I'm still doing a ton of work just doing the audio thing. But I'm getting ready to maybe traverse that into this, but going back to video, having a guest on, because I have a few where I've made them public and I told them, hey, we're on live tonight. I've had some people on, but I don't know. It's been a thing. I'm always trying to reinvent something I'm doing so that, you know, you get that people pay attention to what you're doing, like your show. I've watched a few of yours. I love what you guys do.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
And it's rare that I have time to listen to other podcasts, but I pick and choose. Not to sound snotty, I just pick and choose what I listen to and what you know, when there's humor and there's straight talk, I dig it. You know, when people are, you know, all stuffy and they're all doing this crazy stuff, I don't pay so much attention. But
there's definitely a mix on this one, on this.
You think
on this podcast? Definitely a big.
Mix. I like his insidious laugh. You think maybe we go over the line?
Yeah, we definitely go over the line some days. Like me and Willie were talking about, like. Maybe uploading some episodes as audio only to Spotify and iTunes and stuff like that. And he's like, so just go through there and see which ones, you know, you'd like to do that with. And I'm like, there's a lot of them that I would not want uploaded because sometimes we're just laughing and playing music and joking around and reading chat. And yeah, sometimes it gets pretty off the rails.
509 had a question in there. I will reiterate. They quit because they wanted to go back to school to take HVAC classes because they thought they wanted to quit their factory jobs and basically go do AVHC. And you know what they're doing with them nowadays? Nothing. One guy's sitting in prison. I will tell you that very openly. One guy is still on the radio. Well, there's 3 people, but one guy is still on the radio here, and he just had so much going on with his radio career. He kind of had to step out a little bit. And the other guy, he's done nothing, man. He's still working at a factory and has done nothing with that. So I didn't see the point of, you know, bringing him back and trying to redo what we had, you know. Scotty Budd, I wish him nothing but the best. He's been on the radio, God, almost 40 years.
Wow.
Doing his thing. He's on a thing here called WZUU. Another friend who's in radio who just retired, Mike McKelly. I wish him the best too. Mike was a great guy because I used to be on the Halloween show every year. I was the Halloween guy here on the radio. But and Kevin, I've tried to get Kevin to come back to the group, and it's a hard sell, man. So there weren't nefarious reasons to be afraid of the paranormal. Trust me, these guys were deep into what we were doing. It's just I tell everybody too, with people who've come and gone, people get other interests in their life or different things happen, and they have to refocus what they're doing.
Or they get burned out. Or
they get burned out. Right. And I've had a couple of people quit thinking, well, I've been with you for a year. I'm going to do my own podcast, and I'm a big giant paranormal superstar. I'm sure you've been through that. And the next thing I know, they do a show for a little less than a year, and then they're done, and I never hear from them again. So it's been a dichotomy of growth, people coming and going. I have a solid crew. The two girls that have been with me from day one are still involved. That would be Deb Para. I'd like shouting out names. Deb Bresnahan. Deb's kind of retired a little bit. We're shared grandparents now, which is very cool. That's a whole story. But she's, if we have something big, she'll come out, but she's kind of been there, done that. She's focusing on family and different things. And Bresnahan's still with me. And I got a couple of guys, that are 100% in the crew. Shane being one of them, Jason Griffith, my buddy, Bob Penny. Again, Bob's been doing this since 92. Bob's got his own story to tell. And a couple others in the background, Jason Griffith. I don't know if I mentioned him already, but there's Dan Monroe. There's a couple people, Chris and Mike Heiss. They're involved on occasion. They're what I call the open door investigators, so that when they decide they want to come out and something's going on, I trust their opinion. I know that they're above, they're on level. They don't go after things that aren't there, that type of thing. And that's really what I've worked hard to get, is have people who are always trying to debunk first before we start running with, oh, I heard a bump and there's a ghost upstairs. Let's go check that out. Could be the house moving, could be 100 things. But also, as I said, I'm still a believer and a skeptic too, so it's,
you got to stay skeptical.
You have to. I think if you're gonna have balance in doing this, you have to remain that way, and you have to find the natural explanation first, as I already stated, and go with whatever's left after that. When you've my group has gone to points where I had to correct them, where we saw an orb, and we were doing this historic school in Webster, Indiana, and we had a ledge that's about 2 inches, and I went into the room after we saw this, and we went back to redo this and see if we could, recreate the scenario. And I asked where the 2 investigators were, and people said they were outside getting a ladder. I said, what are they getting a ladder for? And they said, well, they thought maybe it might be traffic lights from outside coming in the window. Well, we could still see traffic, but it's so far away, it was not affecting anything, because we would see it again. And this orb, strictly about the size of a basketball, came up out of the floor and was blinking and went into the wall. And this is when my investigators, one sat at a desk and the other one was scolding him and said, now you're going to write this 100 times and you're going to listen to me in class. Okay, this is what the scenario was. So when I heard the ladder, I ran outside to get him. Like, what are you guys doing? Well, we thought maybe it might be somebody out there with a flashlight. Who in the hell is going to be on that ledge? I can't even get my foot on that ledge. I mean, guys, use your heads for a minute. Come on. I know you want to debunk this, but there was nobody out there with a flashlight. Okay, nobody's out here. Yeah, might have been Spider-Man. I don't know.
Maybe.
You just never know.
Could have been. Well, hey, man, I have to wrap this up, unfortunately, and make it to a birthday lunch, but I want to thank you so much for coming on. What's that, Sonny?
Me and Spooky don't got to go. You just...
Yeah, actually, you can just hang out here with Dan and Spooky and Sonny. You'll keep the podcast going. But no, I wanted to ask you one more thing. What would be your advice for somebody that was just getting started with this? Like something that maybe you didn't know when you were first getting started, that if like you wish you would have known when you were starting out.
I'll try to make it short, which is impossible, but I will try.
That's okay.
The first answer is that be aware that, like any group that you join, anything that you're part of, there's drama. Not really knowing this when I first got into it, even though I was involved in drama and different things in school, and I realized there were cliques, I didn't think that was really necessarily all that was going on within this community. I will tell you that please be aware that is a thing. I would tell you that you should have, when you start out, you don't have to have everything that they're trying to sell you online or on TV. I started out with a VHS recorder and a VHS tape machine. I still have them. We still use them on very rare occasion. I had a cassette recorder. I still use that on very rare occasion. And I had a digital camera when they first came out. We didn't have the camera phone. They had just come out with Nokia about a year after I'd started doing this. And I tell people, if you're going to use your phones, please stop using phone apps that are paranormal. Would you love of God, please stop using them. I'm telling that to some people I'm working with now. If you want to use it for pictures, you've got to make sure you tell people that you've turned the phone off and you're not using iPhone apps, because there's 1,000,001 of them out there. All you really need is a digital camera, a notepad, a flashlight, maybe a cassette recorder or digital recorder, and a good camera. Honestly, the notepad is important, because I would tell people after working in the business that when you see something, please either mark it down video, audio wise on your digital recorder, or take your notepad, turn on your flashlight, and write down what you just experienced, because you may think you're going to remember every detail that went on, but you'll forget something. And that one little piece of information can be a big part of what you're doing, a big part of the case.
Right.
I would give them that advice. I would also, tell them to take a lot of what's on TV, movies, that, remember, it's entertainment. There's one show that I've stuck with from day one, and it might not be everybody's cup of tea, but I've always stuck with Ghost Hunters. I've always stuck with Grant and Jason Hawes. They were instrumental in me starting my group. I was already talking to them, MySpace and different things. I was already aware of taps before they went on TV. And he was very instrumental in giving me good advice and running my group like a business. Even though there's no paycheck, you're still bringing people along, and you have to trust these people, and you have to give them certain job assignments.
Right.
And that's a tough thing to do. So, I would say, follow that line. Also, create yourself a sheet. You can find them all over the internet. They are questionnaires. These are questionnaires that I would use in an interrogation, which I have. And you ask a lot of hard questions when you first talk to an individual. Then you decide after that to have maybe a phone call. And then after that phone call, and you re-ask these things again, to make sure that you want to bring your team into a situation to make sure that you're safe. Make sure that the environment is always safe. And that means individually, personally, because I've gone to a place where a crack house obviously was going on. And not that I felt unsafe for myself, it was my team.
Right.
And, you should use those, and you should have people sign those. Make sure you use paperwork to guys, everybody out there. If you're doing houses or buildings, I always have a piece of paper that we have them sign off on, that you either want us to be free to talk about this on the internet, post pictures, all sorts of video, or you don't. You want this kept very private. And there are cases I will never talk about because they have signed that and they want them kept private. Now, I can talk about them indirectly. I can give you indirect pictures, things that won't give away location, but I think that's important. And I think by being honest with yourself and creating, integrity, and I want to reiterate that we all have things, we all have told white lies, we've all had things in our past, whatever goes on. This is a different story. If you want your stuff to be taken serious, you need to have integrity in what you're doing. And I guess I'll follow it up with, if you're going to go out to cemeteries and they have marked hours and stuff, I always tell people, don't go in there when you're not supposed to be in there. If you find places out and about that don't have that type of thing, to me, that's always been kind of an open thing, but don't destroy and damage things.
Yeah.
Any place that you investigate, please take care by handling other people's items, museum items. I don't care what it is. Show some respect for the people that were there once and the people that are there now. And when you do EVP sessions, please be kind and considerate. Don't be screaming things out at people, calling them cowards, all this crazy stuff you see on Ghost Adventures. I'm just going to say it. Don't do it. Please don't do it. It's never gotten good reactions when I've seen that stuff. And remember, you're coming into somebody else's domain, and I think you should treat it that way. And
absolutely,
doing that and then finding good group of people, it's here and there. But there's this cool thing, guys. Listen to me. There's this cool building. It's in your town, and it has this thing. A bunch of books are in it. Okay. You can get a card. You can go there and get these books out. It's called the library. Not everything on the net is true. I'm telling you, for
real books.
You stop doing that
real
too.
Books in it.
Read, please. I know Egon Spengler said print is dead, but that's not true.
You put me in detention because that's the only time I've been in the library, Dan.
Yeah, well, I tell people, you can read the good, the bad, and the ugly. You can formulate your own decision. You can do that from this too, this media form as well. But I think by going through, the good, the bad, and the ugly, you'll start to smell BS. And
Yeah.
it's taken me a while. It took me a long time to learn to spot BS and smell BS. And it's important because I wouldn't want anybody being misled, down any certain path or any certain way. Go into this neutral. If you're religious in mind, you have to be neutral when you investigate, because there could be a lot of things happening, and you cannot allow your state of mind to interfere with your investigation. Okay.
Right.
You can't do it. I don't care if you're Catholic, Protestant, I don't know, Muslim, whatever you are, leave it outside the door, because there could be things going on here that doesn't react to any of that. That's just, I guess, my best advice.
Well,
and be honest with yourself and behave yourself.
That's great advice, man. Appreciate that. I'm
It
glad
really
I asked.
is.
And
Well,
if any of you on this podcast can make it here this summer, where are you at, Chad?
I'm in like Adrian area.
Oh, so you're here in Michigan.
Yep.
All right. You have my invite, brother. All of you do. You have my invite. Everybody
thank
on
you,
this
man.
podcast, you guys are in LA, so it might be a little bit of a trip for you. August 20th, we are doing a thing called Ghost-orama at a very haunted location called the Van Buren Poorhouse Museum. You will see videos up on YouTube under Tommy Amongst the Tombstones, and I think Drew's got one too.
Okay.
We are going to have a thing called Ghost-orama. This is a paranormal meet and greet. It's in the form of Unity. I want people to kind of get along and talk.
Yeah. That'd
/ car show. We're going to have the Mach 5 there and the Mystery Machine.
be good. Oh, sweet, man.
We're going to have a slew of Ghostbuster cars there and the Ghostbuster Coalition. We're going to have entertainment. There's going to be vendors. We're going to have food, live music. We're going to have a $5 per person to tour the museum, which is a haunted location I've been doing for probably 14 years. It has a great history.
Great.
Yeah, it has a great history. I won't go into it here. And then after hours, we were doing a $20 per person after hours ghost hunt with yours truly and a couple of people from my team. And obviously it's not going to be a straight up ghost hunt, but we're going to give you the best experience we can provide. And I'd love to have you guys come out if you can make it. It's August 20th,
Oh, that's
2022 in
sure.
Hartford, Michigan. Okay. This is where it's at. Hartford, Michigan.
Hartford.
We're right in between Kalamazoo and South Haven.
You're not
Awesome, man.
Willie.
Yeah, it's free to the
Chad,
public.
Yeah,
Yeah,
me
that's
and Big
cool,
Willie
man.
can go over there.
Yeah,
Yep.
come on over.
That's
And
not
I'd
that
love to
far.
work with you outside too. If you want to come along and do some stuff, I'll take you along, man.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, that'd be
It'd a
great.
lot of fun.
Really.
Yeah, I got a
appreciate
lot of
that.
stuff happening this year. So Frankenfest is another one we're doing June 25th in Lansing, Michigan.
Frankenfest.
Frankenfest.
That's even closer.
Yeah, that's in Lansing. That's by Jerry Jodlowski and his sister. I am there as a paranormal guy giving a lecture, but we have all sorts of stuff going on there. It's at the Turner Dodge House, East Lansing.
Oh, sweet.
And
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, the one in September is I don't remember the exact date. There's one in September, and that's at Fort Wayne in Detroit.
Oh, wow.
It's our second year at both locations, so I'd love to have you guys come out.
That'd be fun to go there and do some live streaming.
Yeah, sorry I did that shameless plug there at the end.
No problem at all. Appreciate
Try to
that.
get some of that stuff out. The Ghost-orama is very important to me because it's our first year, and we look to maybe do 2 of them next year. And you and Adrian, I've done some stuff in Adrian, so I would love to. I'm looking for a site for a second Ghost-orama, man.
Cool.
And another partner, so we can get some things swinging.
Yeah, for sure. Before we take off here, guys, I want to say thank you so much for the Buy Me a Coffee donations that we got today through buymeacoffee.com. We had Akashi Chris donated 1 cheeseburger. Thank you so much, Akashi Chris.
man.
Spooky Morales donated 10 cheeseburgers. Thank you so much, Spooky. You're very much appreciated. And Lindsay Grey Wolf donated a cheeseburger. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. And my cousin Jake Smith donated 10 cheeseburgers. So thank you so much, Jake. Appreciate you, man.
They're awesome.
Hope you're having a good day at work.
Jake.
Now, Chad, is your sister Oracles?
No, that's Cassie, Oracles and Beyond. She's just
Okay.
a friend that I met on here.
No,
Yeah,
is she
she
here
does
in
our
Michigan?
booking for us. She's awesome, man.
She's our sister.
She's
Yep.
my older sister, yeah.
Yeah.
she in
All our
Michigan?
sisters.
Big sister, yeah.
I'm gonna have to go see if where she's at. She has an invite as well. But if you
No,
know
Kelly's,
anybody,
Cassie's in California too.
Yep.
oh geez, guys are all out in the good weather.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
why we
Yeah,
gotta
they're
have
all out
Chad
on the
and
West
Big Willie
Coast.
represent
This
us.
is Sonny telling us how cold it is at 58 degrees. Whatever.
I know.
Whatever,
It's,
man.
no
71 now. It's 71, 9 o'clock
Yeah.
in the morning. Now I'm back to.
I
You're
will
back
tell
to
any
normal.
vendors, anybody who is a vendor and you want to sell, it doesn't matter if you're knitting mittens for kittens, okay? It doesn't have to be paranormal. If you want to be a vendor at this event, August 20th, go to Ghostorama on Facebook, please. It's $35 for a 10 by 10 space. Just bring your canopy, tables, and chairs. You can sell your stuff all day long. It's all your money.
Oh, sweet.
A little bit of those proceeds from the vendor cost goes to help the museum, which is 100% voluntary. So very cool. Yeah, I'd like to come out to LA. You got a lot going on out there, guys.
Definitely.
Yeah, there's a lot of action going on out there.
Because Spooky knows, we know who used to own LA before all the other people moved in, right?
Yes, sir.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't want hate mail.
Let's not get into
hate
that.
mail.
It's Cinco de Mayo, so we just gotta appreciate everybody.
Cinco de
Appreciate
Mayo.
that, man. Yeah, just
Cinco de
appreciate
Mayo,
that.
everybody.
Enjoy your birthday, Chad. Enjoy Cinco de
Happy
Mayo,
birthday,
everybody.
Chad.
Love
Thanks
you
a
all
lot,
so
Spooky.
much.
Thanks, Dan.
Hey guys, thanks
Thank you,
for having
Dan.
me on. You guys are wonderful.
Thanks again.
You're the best, brother.
Thanks,
You're the
everybody.
best. I
Appreciate
got to
you.
get your guys' info. Please hit me up, and I'd love to have you guys on my show too.
Absolutely.
Oh, that'd be
All three
sweet.
of
That'd
you.
be great.
Anytime,
Yep.
man. Anytime.
All right, brother.
All right, we'll see you guys. Thanks so much.
Love everybody.
See you on Chop Shop tomorrow, guys. Peace.
UFO Garage.
UFO Garage tonight.
Oh, garage.
We'll see you guys.
It sound right, boys.